is a setback for their future. Department spokesperson Bronna Hammond.
The WCD is addressing the issue with the school management, and communication has been sent to parents regarding the learners' behaviour, with a meeting being scheduled with parents.
Meanwhile, the ANC's Khalid Syed says the education department is failing the pupils.
We call on the WCED to intervene decisively at Vista High School by stabilizing the teaching environment, developing a recovery plan for learners, and ensuring accountability in restoring quality education.
And hope is fading of finding survivors in the rubble of homes devastated. Emergency services have struggled to reach remote villages. A magnitude 6 earthquake hit the region bordering Pakistan over the weekend, flattening buildings. The earthquake killed more than 1,400 people and it injured over 3,000 people, making it one of the deadliest in decades to hit the impoverished country. Gold is trading at $3,531.58 an ounce. The rand is at 17.72 to the dollar, 23.68 to the pound, 20.61 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $68.95 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy delays. This is along the R59 north between Kliprivier Drive and Swartkoppies Road due to a major accident scene, and traveling on the Mike 1 south, bumper-to-bumper traffic between the Baklu interchange and Kohler Drive, also due to an accident.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 30 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The South African Human Rights Commission has concluded that podcasters who made disparaging remarks against coloured people should undergo diversity and sensitivity training.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
The US Powerball is making headlines again. There was another rollover on the US Powerball. Tomorrow morning's draw at 5 a.m. is worth 22.9 billion rands. That is a lot of zeros. Don't just wish. Stand a chance to be the winner of the US Powerball. Choose your 6 numbers and place your bet on lottoland.co.za. Lottoland changes lives.
7:02
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Five after 9. Thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to it. Clement is not here. I'm Thabo Shole-Mashao in his stead. We're together till 12. Great having you with us. There's quite a lot that is going on, and thanks to Clement on the breakfast show, doing a fantastic job there. A couple of issues came out, especially the issue of the 121 dockets. We'll be looking at that particular topic a little bit later on the show. We'll take a deep dive into it as the first 2 segments of the show, at least after 10, will be dedicated to understanding more about that, as we'll be talking to the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council that recommends changes to law enforcement agencies. And this issue is no stranger to you at all. You'd know that, especially in the security justice cluster, we have been having some challenges, and a number of people have raised their concerns regarding that. We'll take a deep dive into that. Also looking at the police, the political killing stars team dockets that were referred to the Madlanga Commission. But firstly, on the open line, I'd like to whet your appetite and get your view on a number of issues that I'd like to bring us to the fore, that I'd like us to bring to the fore. ActionSA, this is not new at all. You'd remember that the EFF had raised this before, right? And they had brought it to our attention. And this is the matter of parliamentarians and members of the executive having to use the public facilities as well, like health and others, saying that there is a medical aid that is called Parliamentary and Provincial Medical Aid Scheme. And they want to put an amendment bill in Parliament. And this bill seeks to end compulsory membership in the scheme for members of parliament and other public office bearers. Instead, making membership in this scheme voluntary. And Dr. Kgosi Letlape, who is ActionSA member of parliament, said public officials have been shielded by a medical aid scheme exclusive to them and cut off from the struggles of South Africans who rely on the public health services. So this amendment bill that ActionSA wants to bring forth forms part of their mission to ensure that public representatives should also experience the same realities as you and I, as ordinary South Africans are doing. And so by putting this bill forward, they want to expose parliamentarians and other officials to the health system that many South Africans, millions of South Africans, get to endure every single day, be it at a primary or tertiary level. So mainly they're saying that parliamentarians must also have a taste of using Helen Joseph and not the better part of Helen Joseph. What do they call it? A Tuso Billy or something. But there is a almost semi-private wing that they use. But they are saying they must queue up like the rest of us. If you're going to Baragwanath, you must sit on those steel chairs for 6 hours before you get some service, so that as a parliamentarian, you can then be in a position to work for a better system that you and your family experience. Because a lot of them are making laws, having views, expressing themselves authoritatively on services that they don't get to experience at all. Is that even fair? Is that even fair? So ActionSA wants to take this forward, especially on the health side of things. They're saying go and queue up at the clinic and queue for medication and see how it is when those nurses tell you off and they tell you where to get off and they scream at you and they make fun of you and they are talking to each other as opposed to be serving you and you feel like you are dying. And, hey, Chomi, what did you do over the weekend? So they're saying parliamentarians go and experience that. I'm sure they wouldn't want that. Well, what do you make of it? Well, I'd love to hear from you. 011-883-0702. 011-883-0702. So those are some of the things that I would like to get your opinion on. I don't know if you saw this, and speaking of the health sector, that there's a linen shortage at Baragwanath and Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, and this is putting patients at risk. And they said that this ongoing linen crisis at the said hospital points at the public health system in distress, where patients endure discomfort, infection risk, and delayed treatment due to basic supply failures. So you may want to be like the caller who gave us a shout yesterday, who works for the city of Johannesburg, disguised as an ordinary person, and saying that we must give the mayor a chance. We don't understand how these things work in the media. There's a procurement process, and it's not as easy as we make it. Well, guess what? That excuse is there again on the linen shortage. You know why? Because the Department of Health previously cited outdated laundry machines, delays in finalizing a bulk linen purchase, and a high patient load that accelerates linen wear and usage as reasons for shortage. Procurement comes in again. That there's a delay in that. Surely you should have known about this some time ago. Now we are going to blame the procurement process and say it's not easy. You must first appoint people and then they must do this, and you must place an order. It may take 12 months, right? We're going to hide behind the red tape and bureaucracy. Whilst we could have anticipated all of this, that's a mark of good leadership. We should have anticipated all of this. And lastly, on the health issue as well, Malvern Clinic apparently has shut its doors because there's no water that side. And if you're using Malvern Clinic, you may be in trouble and you may be met by locked gates at that facility. So there's a lot that's taking place in the health sector. I know. You'll say, Thabo, you've been serious for too long. Since Monday, you've been hitting us with these depressing depressing open line topics. What about some lightness? I'm sure there are some light stories that we need to be discussing. Guess what? I do have one. And please, I need your thoughts on this. I do need your thoughts on this. And this happened yesterday. I've been conversing this with my colleagues here at Prime Media prior to the show, speaking to a number of them, and I knew Moteo would support me, so I went straight to Moteo and asked him about my experience yesterday. So yesterday here at Prime Media, as you would know, we hosted a number of individuals who were friends, colleagues, and loved ones to our beloved late Tsidi Madia. It's sad to speak about Tsidi in the past tense. Very sad, and may her soul rest in peace. And so obviously there were a number of people coming in and out. After the show, the memorial service was kicking off. And so I couldn't stay for long. I had other things, as you would know. I do other things other than on just being on radio there. So I had double booked myself. So I went upstairs to just see a few people and just to say hi and then leave. I bumped into this guy. I won't mention his name because you definitely know him. He's a big person in the media space, an executive in the media space. And I took offense at this. He saw me and this is how he greeted me. He said, "How's it?" Gosh, that got my blood boiling. That really got me boiling. He said, "How's it?" I have to give a little bit of context, right? I think it's fair to do so. I have to say he's black, not for purposes of being racist. I know you'll be in a rush to take me to the Human Rights Commission. So it is almost unheard of for a black guy to say to another black guy, "How's it?" Especially if you know each other, especially if you come from a certain background and you just say, "How's it?" There's an offense that is implicit in that when you say, "How's it?" One, you are saying that you belong to an elite group of individuals. You are an executive and I am beneath you. And that's why you greet me like that, right? Especially if I know you. Especially if we have never greeted each other like that before. If there's another black guy who's saying "How's it?" to me and we don't know each other that well, that's okay. That is okay. I'll take that. But there is some disrespect that goes with a "how's it" from one guy to the other. Culturally speaking, and I'm not speaking about African culture, I'm talking about a township subculture that should exist and it's an unspoken rule. If I walk and I see a couple of guys in the townships or wherever else, and then I'm walking past them and I want to greet them and I say, "Hello, guys," they will definitely take an offense. That is unheard of. They'll take an offense. They'll say, "Thabo, why are you saying that? Why don't you say, 'Hey, gents, shapuzet,' or 'Hey, Thaba fetu,' or 'gents,' or 'hola,' or whatever." So I took an offense. When that guy said, "How's it?" to me. I didn't tell him because, listen, we're hosting guests and I'm not going to be a rude guy and make people feel uncomfortable in our supposed space. And they're here for a different reason anymore. But I wanted to ask you, am I overreacting? Would you feel offended if you are greeted like that? Would you feel offended if you're a guy and you are greeted like that? It says you are an elite, you go fishing, and you are removed from the realities of all of us, and you are far better than all of us, and you don't relate at all to where you come from. And so everyone else is just beneath you. Am I exaggerating a little bit? I'd like to find out from you. It could be that I'm reading into it what's not necessarily the case. But let me know. Send your voice notes to 072 702 1702. Alternatively, call us. I'd love to hear your calls on 011 883 0702. 011 883 0702. And I'll say it. I'll say it. I know you'll take me to the Human Rights Commission for saying this, but I'll risk it for the purposes of a good debate because I believe in it. It's you've lost a little bit of who you are when you're greeting like that. I don't know, guys. Am I exaggerating this? Am I taking things out of context? Am I just being too much? Well, Zintle was telling me that you are the drama, Thabo. You are the drama. There's nothing wrong with what that guy had said, but I'd rather hear it from you. Okay. So on the lighter note, there's something that we can have a word about. And lastly, it was Spring Day the other day, and there is this subculture again in the townships that on Spring Day, if you are walking and you are not in a car and you are from work and you're going back home at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever the time is, on Spring Day, you would be met with a bucket of water on your face, whether you are wearing a suit, a nice costume, 3-piece costume. You'll meet young people on the 1st of September. Every year, it has happened since time immemorial. Since I was just a little boy, it was happening, and it's continuing to happen now, I'm told. And a lot of people get into a serious fight, and apparently someone was shot for this because you're getting off a taxi or you're just walking home, you'll meet a group of young people, and they'll throw water at you with various buckets. You don't know what was in those buckets to start off with. That's an argument for another day. But, I mean, they don't even want your consent, whether you consent to the funness of Spring Day, the festivities, the delights that go with Spring Day. No, they will just throw you with water. And in some instances, people get killed for that. Should we stop that now, guys? Should it come to an end? Has it run its course, and should we put a stop to it? 011-883-0702. 011-883-0702. 19 after 9.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
And with that, let's go to some of your voice notes before I get to your calls, and I will take them in a short while. But let's go to some of the voice notes and the messages that you've sent. Firstly, the text messages that you have sent. Here, this one says, "Hi Thabo, I take offense when children greet elders saying, 'Hi guys.' It upsets me so much." This comes from Jablile in Midrand. So Jablile says, she is taking offense, but only from children. Hi 702, with regards to Thabo's question about being greeted with "How's it?" I think he's definitely exaggerating. Wade, you could speak to me directly, not in a third person. I'm here. Remember, I think he's definitely exaggerating the situation. How's it is a South African way of greeting. The fact that he took offense to it, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Black, white, it shouldn't matter. It's a greeting. There are more pressing matters in this world, in this country. I started off with pressing matters, Wade. Maybe you should have listened at the beginning. I kicked off with the pressing matters, and I mentioned that we do need some lightness. Frivolity. I did mention that some lightness. So I don't mind being criticized, but I think be consistent with the context as well. I'll take your criticism anytime. So I started with the difficult stuff. I mentioned the hospitals, Chris Hani Baragwanath not having linen. I mentioned the police issue. I mentioned Malvern Clinic being shut because of water issues. And I mentioned a number of things. Then I said, on a lighter note, how's it is not only a South African, it is a South African way of greeting, but it's not the only way of greeting. And context matters. There are some people, when you say how's it to them, they're not going to say how's it back. They'll say I'm fine and you, because they come from a certain background where how's it is not a way of greeting. The other one says, Awa Thabo, you're projecting and reading way too much into this. Who said greeting implies one is beneath another? Stop ascribing your own beliefs to everyone. At least he greeted. Imagine if he just walked past you. I would have preferred that to the way he was greeting. I thought it was not okay. But I hear what you have to say. 011-883-0702. Bob, You say I'm overreacting. Good morning.
No. Hi, how you, Thabo? No, I definitely think
How's it, Bob?
I definitely think that you're overreacting about the whole thing. I mean, he greeted. He said hi. Not everybody, is the same. He could have said Shapire away, But unfortunately, you weren't in the township. You were in, a formal setting. So maybe that's what brought on the formal or not so formal. I just think, everyone to their own.
Okay, Bob, I want you to understand the context, right? I'm not dismissing anything that you're saying. You've grown up with someone, you've been exposed to them, and throughout their lives, throughout knowing each other for about 20 years or so, they've never said how's it to you. They've never greeted you like that, either in a formal setting or informal setting. And out of nowhere, and you having not seen them in the past year or so, they say how's it to you.
But look, being around an environment where it's more of a formal environment it is a work environment. So
Bob, you missed what I said, my friend. Please listen again. I'm urging you to listen so that you argue with what I'm saying. And I'll take your criticism. I just want you to argue with what I'm saying, not what you are making up. I am saying,
okay, no.
I am saying, you've known this person for the longest of times. You've never greeted each other like that in a disparaging way. In that, the tonality being taken into consideration, be it in a formal environment or informal, that has never happened. And in a passage of about 4 months of not seeing each other, this person greets you in a completely strange way. That's the context.
Thabo, I still think you're taking it too hard. I think maybe you just need to take a run, do some exercise. Like, go, man.
Yeah, I don't do exercises, right? I don't take a run, right, Bob?
You can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm saying I don't take a run ordinarily. You know that because you chill with me every day, right? Anyway, sharp, Bob. We'll chat. Thank you, man. Appreciate your time. Eta. Hey, it looks like I'm in for a run with this one, hey? 011-883-0702, 24 minutes after 9. Let's go. Who's been holding the longest? I just want to be fair to everyone, especially those who've been holding the longest. It's definitely Jody in Florida. Jody, hi.
Thabo,
Eta.
colored people, aware.
Aware, Masakent.
Exactly. Black people, hatada.
Eta.
White people, houses. Your friend, that is why you mentioned fishing. Because you didn't want to say your friend went fishing with a couple of white people and now he says the whole weekend was house it brew.
I didn't say that.
You mentioned fishing. You lost me at fishing, my friend.
Away.
Thank you very much.
Away, Jody. Away. 011-883-0702. Abel, who's been holding the longest? Let's see. I just want to be fair to everyone. I just don't want to pick calls. I want those who've been holding for quite some time so that we exercise a little bit of justice as well. Vuyani in Randburg. Vuyani, hi.
How's it going?
How's it, man?
How's it going? How's it hanging?
How's it hanging, man? Yeah. What's up, Vuyani?
Yeah, no, it's a good discussion. You know, Thabo, I don't mind the people that are trying to throw you off. I think it's a cultural thing and colloquialism of where you come from. So I can't just rock up in my daddy and be like, how's it to everyone? Everyone's going to think, who the hell? And sometimes you meet someone in the left. You know, the first time I experienced this was in these white schools. You meet somebody and they say, how's it? And you answer them back. And they're not interested in the answer.
Bro, that's exactly what I used to do at Model C School. Yeah. That's exactly how I responded my first time encountering this at these schools. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
They're expecting to say, how's it back? You know?
Yeah.
So it's a colloquialism, and the worst that I had is, how's it hanging? And it was a sports event. And so it's like amongst the boys, man.
Yeah.
So they're saying... your private parts.
Don't say it.
So yeah, how's it hanging? You know, it's you know, and it used to throw me off. Then I just realized, okay, you know what? Yeah, don't take it personal. But if I rocked up somewhere else, people would be like, hey, who the hell does he think he is? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah.
No, before you go, Vuyani, I was having a chat with our producers and the producer, Siamtanda, earlier on, the breakfast producer. And I was explaining it to her like that. Moteo and I at least were saying that if you were to go back home to Lusikisiki, and then you get out of your car, and then you see ladies from Lusikisiki chilling outside in the sun and having a good time, and you wanted to greet them, and you said, hey guys, that would be so inappropriate. There's nothing wrong or insulting about saying, hey guys, but the context is misplaced altogether, and it's disrespectful to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Context
matters. Yeah. All right. Vuyani, thanks,
you.
bro. Really appreciate it. Cheers, Vuyani. 28 minutes after 9 o'clock. Seke, thanks for holding. Really appreciate it. How's it? Seke.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Brother Thabo. How are you?
I'm free. I'm chilled. How are you?
I'm okay. I just need to intervene with regard to the question about MP to start queuing like other patients.
Yes.
I think being in the shoes of patients, we understand them, but they are emotional because someone like an MP deserves some privileges. You assign him to go to fight for you. Now imagine the day he should discuss issues related to healthcare. He should queue there with you from morning until evening. I'm not saying that it will be that way. So you'll be missing the case. So to understand the line and the responsibility of each one, if you really appointed that person or you gave your votes to that person, allow that person to have those privileges for some years and let on be okay. And even this matter is also aligned to what you were talking about. People greeting those who are senior by their name, no? People can copy it from Hollywood or from some family, you see. We have some values. Even when you go to the UK, some Orthodox family, they are really focusing on that respect. You cannot call someone who's senior by the name and say, hey, guy, you see a kid telling his father, hey, guys, so and the mom, you see. That's not correct. So for me, I think people need to be told that, no, by the time you give your vote, understand that those people deserve privilege to fight for you. You don't need to treat them like you are. Just be patient. By the time they are back, then you can choose someone else. Thank you very much.
Before, 1 second, very quickly. I just want to make sure that I understand your line of argument here. Are you saying that we should allow MPs to enjoy the privilege of using private facilities for some years? Is that what you are saying?
What I can say that if they need to secure a scheme for MPs to go through that route of, let's say,
private
own medical aid, there is no harm. But, someone can come from a modest family. Another one can be placed coming from a very rich family. You cannot impose him. So that's what I mean. You say, okay, we can just afford it for you MPs, but if you need to go to private, just proceed. So that could be a bit way. Otherwise, the background is also very important.
Okay. Yeah. Seke, thanks very much for that. It's exactly 9:30. Sfiso Zulu will give us the very latest on Eyewitness News headlines at 9:30. How's it, Sfiso?
Thanks, Thabo. Good morning. Police have confirmed that the 121 dockets of the KwaZulu-Natal Police Political Killings Task Team have been returned to the province for the continuation of investigations. The dockets, containing mostly murders committed in KZN, were submitted to the police headquarters in March this year. KZN Police Head Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi raised concerns that they were sitting gathering dust in Gauteng after they were allegedly taken by Deputy Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrack Sibia. A Cape Town man has received a hefty sentence for the murder of an SAPS official. The Khayelitsha Priority Court sentenced Nwandile Nondaka to a total of 47 years for the police murder that happened in Philippi in 2023. The 34-year-old man entered into a plea agreement with the state and will effectively serve 28 years direct imprisonment. imprisonment. And at least 10 people are known to have been killed during protests in Indonesia. The figure was provided by the state-affiliated National Commission on Human Rights, one of several organizations to report fatalities due to last week's unrest. The disturbances that rocked Southeast Asia's biggest economy were sparked by discontent over economic inequality and the lavish perks that are being given to lawmakers. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you. Amo, how do the roads look?
Well, at this particular moment, Thabo, we've got an accident. It's right on the N12 West, right near the Uncle Charlie's interchange. Delays coming out of Xavier Street. This is in the Ridgeway area, so if you're traveling along this route, please be on the lookout and approach the scene with care. If you're traveling on the N12 West as well as the R24 West out of Edenville, do expect delays between Edenville Road and the Gillies interchange. There's also queuing traffic. In fact, heavy delays between on the N3 North between Marlborough Drive and the Baku interchange, as well as on the N1 North towards the Baku turnoff. While traveling towards Bryanston, heavy traffic volumes between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive due to a car stuck on the road. Please be on the lookout there. I'll have more updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Do you want to buy a Honda? Cars.co.za. Toyota or Mahindra? Cars.co.za. Do you want to sell a Cherry? Cars.co.za. Suzuki or Mercedes? Cars.co.za. Polo, Kia, Mitsubishi, Havel, Hyundai, Lamborghini. Buy and sell, it's very easy. All you got to do is type cars.co.za, cars.co.za, cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you. Cars.co.za, cars.co.za. Welcome to the brand new days.
Sail the world with Norwegian Cruise Line, with more to see, more to do, and more to enjoy. Plus, upgrade your holiday with NCL's More at Sea for premium beverages, specialty dining, and much more. Think international cruising. Think NCL. For the best deals available, visit ncl.com or contact your travel agent. Restrictions apply.
Welcome to the brand new days.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Bro, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Thabo in for Clement. You're on 702, 26 minutes to 10 o'clock. It's an open line until 10, so I'll be taking your calls on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, your voice notes and your text messages on 072-702-1702. And we are reflecting on a number of issues, linen shortage at Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, and they are attributing that to some purchasing matters, procurement matters, and oversupply of patients and various other issues. Those are some of the issues that we are raising, especially our healthcare system. Feel free to contribute. And on a lighter side, in case anyone misses it again, there are important issues that we've been raising, but now and then we throw in light things because we're human beings. We must sometimes laugh at ourselves. And as much as things are at times heavy on our country, there are some light moments that we can reflect on. So again, before you take me to BCCSA, on a lighter side, we were talking about inappropriate greetings. Like, how's it? Not for everyone. I'm happy to be greeted with a how's it from by a stranger, and it can come from someone else. I'm happy. I am talking about a certain context. You've known each other. You all from a certain background, be it rural or township or peri-urban, and out of nowhere because certain individuals have made it right to the top and they frequent certain elite circles. Now they've lost a little touch of who they are. When they are with ordinary people, they want to also treat them as though they are a class above them. And a greeting says it all. A greeting says it all. It can either hype you up or it can really dilute your great mood. 011-883-0702. I'd love to hear from you. Some of you have been holding for quite some time. Definitely Mpho in Pretoria. Mpho, hey, welcome.
Good morning, Thabo. Are you well?
I am well, Mpho. Thank you for wanting to know. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Thank you so much. I wanted to say that, what's most upsetting about the MPs is that, they wouldn't even voluntarily just go and try out these systems or try out everything that ordinary South Africans are experiencing. It's not upsetting that, South Africans are fighting tooth and nail day and night to keep head above water. Most of them don't even afford medical aid, but, we are paying taxes, for these MPs to enjoy all of these benefits and all of this private health care and vehicle protections and vehicles and stuff like that. So, I just find it really offensive and very upsetting that not even once an MP would say, hey, let me go try and get medication at Baragwan and just get that experience.
Yes.
They don't even make, not even one of them in Parliament the whole year will not even make reference. One morning I just woke up and I decided to get public transport and just get the experience of what people on the ground are going through on a daily basis. So that for me is quite upsetting.
It is 100%. I'm with you, Mpho, 100%. And it would be so refreshing without having to pass any bill, any law at all, to have them try their best to experience what is it that they are speaking about in those chambers. So that it's not only text that informs them, but a lived experience. They often refer to us as our people, but they are living lives that are inconsistent with their people.
100.
Yeah.
Thabo, I just want to make a comment as well on House. I think you're overreacting, man. I must be honest. I must be very honest with you.
Yeah.
If an executive said House to me, I jump at it. I think, everyone is just going through a tough time, and a bit of dressing down, even on pleasantries. I think it's always welcome.
Sure.
If somebody says House to me, I just jump into a casual conversation, which I think everyone sort of like needs at the moment.
No, but let me very quickly, Mpho, where are you from? Originally, before you moved to the Babs.
I'm from Pretoria.
Where in Pretoria? Hammanskraal, Mamelodi, Soshanguve, Mabopane. Okay. So, Auteha Yako Mabopane, Godi B. Now meets you, Senti, neither. And then you're just chilling there. You see him, you haven't seen him in 2 years. And then, when I hey, Teddy Bra, and then he says, how's it? Your guy from Mabopane, from DP. And he says that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if you put it like that, I'm with you.
You get it. Eitara. Sure, Mpoza. Eita. 011-883-0702. 011-883-0702. Mahlatsi, thanks for your patience. Thanks for holding. It's your turn.
Hi, Thabo. How are you?
I am free. I'm chilled. How are you, Mahlatsi?
I'm very good. I nearly said how's it, but that's no.
I would take it from you. We don't have that background. I would gladly take how's it from you. Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
Thabo, I think if we were to say you and I are working in a company, and I am your manager, and you are working on the floor, and as much as I am not taking things seriously, you don't have to take them seriously as well.
Yeah.
Because you on the floor. You cannot be changing things while you can see the manager is not taking things too hard. I mean, the situation that we have of hospitals without lenience, what is that? What service are we giving to people? Yes, we understand that you don't go and get the particular service that people get on the ground. But do we have to even subject them to a level of not even having lenience? I mean, that's bad. That's bad service. That's bad service as a community. And we still say we have got leaders in the country. Which leaders are we talking about? What are they doing to the people? Do we still have to go and queue and say we are voting for these particular leaders that we call them leaders? There's no need. Why are we not just leading ourselves? Because we don't have anyone to raise their hands and say, I am, as a leader, I'm saying this stops by me, the buck stops with me. I am going to see, why are we not having lenience? Why? How long Thabo, have been we complaining about the attitude of the service, the people who should be giving us service in it?
Who has done anything about what? What do we even have workshops? Do we even have training? Do we even have training about customer service? Because even though if you are working for the government, you still have to give a customer service.
Yes.
I must still get there and get the bus service in town, whether it's in the location, whether it's in Sukhutsese, whether it's in Sipokubi, or it doesn't matter, whether in Venda Chakuma, I must still get the best service. But if we have got leaders who don't care, who don't attend to these clinics or hospitals, this is the situation that we're going to get ourselves into. But let me tell you something, Thabo.
Yeah.
Ourselves, Renabo Matlati, are still going to carry our big heads and still go and vote for these particular people who are...
Yeah, and that's how the story crumbles, right? Despite all of that. Despite all of that. Yeah, we will be leading the march. Yeah, we'll be leading the march and saying...
We'll be there. That's what they keep on the queue saying, hey, this guy, we can't, Thabo. Thabo, we can't. This is painful. I don't want to like you. You know, it's like now, I'm on the road. Let me tell you what happens. You find a roadblock here, right? There's a roadblock. These guys are busy their roadblock, and there's an accident 2 meters away. They don't care. Apparently, they're waiting for somebody to call them and tell them there's an accident 200 meters away from them.
How is
they won't attend to that.
Yeah.
How are we working? How are we? What is that?
It's not taking ourselves seriously. It's not taking ourselves seriously at all. At all. Mahlatse, thanks for that, man. 011-883-0702. I'd love to hear from you. Abel, I've been neglecting voice notes. Let's try to get some voice notes through, please, that came through on 072-702-1702.
Hey, morning, Tibos. I'm free also. It's Aubrey Fasluras here. Thabo, I think that is a good move by ActionSA. I'm supporting it 100%. In fact, I'm waiting for the other parties, the GNU. Particularly, I'm calling you Rise Mzansi for the youth. We are the ones who are suffering queuing in the hospitals. And not only hospitals, Thabo, I think we should take it also to public transport so that they can be pulled out of the Ubers and experience that life also. Public transport, public schooling. If you are a parliamentarian or you get a salary from the government taxpayers, you should use public services. I think that's the only way to go. Rise Mzansi, where are you? Go in and join ActionSA on this motion, and then we put it forward. I don't care about these other big parties because they are eating with the government. But this GNU, there are a lot of small parties in the GNU that can go and join Rise Mzansi, join ActionSA on this motion. Thank you. Bye.
Morning, Clement and Thabo. Just heard you talking about MPs and so on using public hospitals. I have news for you. I work at a public hospital. And when these guys or their family walks into a public hospital, they don't get treated like normal people. They get special preferential treatment. The CEO often walks in with them and makes sure that you're doing everything. If you don't have something that they need, they will order it and get it for them.
Really?
So it's not the panacea you think it's going to be, because even if they go to the public hospital, they're not going to be treated like everyone else. You know, some animals are more equal than other animals.
Yeah.
Hi, Thabo. I think you are absolutely being the drama. I mean, honestly, how's it? Who's it? It's the same thing. It's just different languages. And as someone who actually lives in the township but does not speak that Tsotsitaal or township lingo, I do not consider myself a lead, but I also am not going to embarrass myself trying to assimilate into something that I'm not familiar with. What I am familiar with is saying, how's it? And no one has ever been offended by me greeting them, how's it? So yeah,
no one
that
has
is
told
a
you.
weird outlook. But anyway, Casey in Pretoria.
Oh, Casey, no one has told you, right, that you've offended them, especially if you live in the townships, bruh. I mean, you would have been told. You would have been told. If you were from Soweto, you would have been told that, Emuna, why are you greeting us like that? If you were from Kasi, you would have been told, bruh. You would have, and I'm missing something important here. You said you're from the hoods, right? You're from the townships, and so as you're growing up, all these things never happened around you. All these things never took place. But each to his own, right? Each to his own. But guys, the biggest thing that I would like you to take away from this is that This is just light. It's just light. Stop being so serious. This is light. Of course, there are important issues to deal with. We just shooting the breeze every now and then and laughing at each other and laughing at ourselves. So I suppose the bone of contention was when I asked and I related a story of one executive. I must say, they're not from Prime Media. I forgot to say that. They're not from here. They're from some other station far away from us. And so he greeted me yesterday and he said, how's it? And this is someone I thought I would never get a how's it from them. He's never greeted me like that before. And out of nowhere, he says, how's it? And I was thinking, why would you greet me like that? But there's truth in jest as well. I think it must be said. There's truth in jest. There are some, dare I say, black executives who shrug themselves off who they were prior to ascending a corporate ladder. There are many of them, not all of them. There are many black executives who now ascribe to a certain lifestyle and who disassociate themselves with where they come from altogether as soon as they reach a certain level of economic prowess. They, as much as they would claim that they are beneficiaries of BEE, they just love the luxuries, the latitude, the privileges that come with BEE, but they do not want the burden of being who they truly are, because now they see themselves as a class above their people, where they come from. Yes, I've said it. There are those. And if truth really matters, if truth matters to you, you would agree with me. Unless you want us to just, sweep it under the carpet. I'd love to hear from you. 0727021702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
What advice would you give to everyone listening who is in the midst of the most difficult part of their midlife experience, or a crisis as it's been referred to before, that is feeling stuck and does not see a way out?
I would say it's about renewal. It's this renewal of your thoughts around this. It's the point where you stop living by that default and start living by your design. And I know it's a very hard space to be in if you're really sitting in isolation as well. But in an isolation, that's your invitation, as lots of us really don't get.
Seluchani Reddy, the author of Midlife in Blossom.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
On 20 and 21 September, the DSTV Delicious International Food and Music Festival, powered by Lotto Star, brings you the flavor, the music, and the vibe with international stars as his top performers, delicious food from local artisans and fashion that turns heads. It's the ultimate heritage weekend experience. Gather your friends on Saturday and make it a family picnic day on Sunday. Join interactive cooking demos, explore vibrant art, and celebrate 30 years of DSTV bringing entertainment to Africa. One ticket gives you access to it all. Visit ticketmaster.co.za with more on deliciousfestival.com.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. For more about 702,
Go to primemediaplus.com.
9 minutes to 10 o'clock. Welcome to it, 702. Open line, anything goes. I prefer open and honest open lines. That's how I'd rather do my radio. Honest, direct, and without any flowers. And let's have just a direct talk. Speaking of which, 072 702 1702.
Good morning, Thabo and Tim. I think I understand where you're coming from with this whole greeting thing. It used to happen. It's still happening back in the villages in Limpopo. You go to school with a group of guys, and then after matric, everybody goes their way. Then you meet maybe after 5 or 6 years. Then that same person refers to you as chief. Hey, how's it, chief? And I'm like, hey man, since Ning no no. Hey, and I hate it. I hate it.
Morning, Thabo. I hope you are free. Okay, so same thing happened to me with a guy I've known for almost 25 years. And the same guy got married to my cousin. We used to be so close. We chatted about cars. We went out. And okay, he got married to my cousin. And then they went overseas to work there for a few years, and then they came back. And when they came back, we met at the wedding for the first time after they came back in about 7-8 years. And his greeting to me was, how's it? To this day, 5 years later, I'm still offended by that, and I never spoke to him again.
Thabo, about that guy that greeted you like, how's it? I would also be offended if it's someone that I know, someone that I normally hang around with, or someone that I've known for a while. You know, in a typical township way, all I could have done would be, Eita Tibos, how's it, sharp? We don't need to talk. We don't need to say anything other than that. You know, I want to say that and that's a fact. I don't know what the other people are arguing about. I would have just stopped for a second to say, hey, Tatibos, how's it? Sharp, sharp. We don't need to talk a lot of things. Thabo, Proteatlen.
Hola, Tibos. On the mark. 011-883-0702. Jabu on the road. Hey, Jabu.
Hi.
Hi, Jabu.
Yeah, I would have felt the same. But now this one that really nagged me is when people greet you and say, Dinsang. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like that. How do I respond? Dinsang.
Nesha Pudinsang. That's a response.
What is that? What is that?
No, it's, okay, there's a literal and figurative translation. I should say there's a literal and equivalent translation, right? As far as language translation is concerned. When they are saying dinsang, a literal and direct translation would mean that what is your life revealing? But an equivalent of it is, how are you?
Where does that? Hey, okay. I don't like that. Okay, thanks.
Sharp.
No, sharp.
Really appreciate it. 011-883-0702. Tsolo, hey, you are in Montana. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm free. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Look, I am an industrial laundry operator. So
yes.
What happens with this? For example, I still have some of Baragwana's blankets because they owe me money. So what happens is that when these tenders come from the health department, for example, they will appoint someone who does not have machines, who's not in the laundry business. So these people will come to us and say, for example, we have laundry and then you need to wash, and then they will pay,
Mm.
So in most cases, what these people come here,
they want us to offer the services, and then when there is time to pay, they tell us, the client has not paid. So what happens is we sit the laundry until they pay. So a lot of laundry that is around here in Gauteng, that you, for example, linen, you'll find in private companies like mine, because we are waiting to be paid. So the person will be paid, for example, whoever got the tender, but they won't pay us, so we hold the linen.
Goodness me. This is why 702 is just lead. You see, this gives us direct understanding of what the problem is. It's not necessarily shortage. And this is stuff that they're keeping away from us, because a spokesperson would be coming through giving us a long-winded explanation. Whilst the reality is that there is linen, it's stuck in private hands of service providers who are not paid on time.
Yeah, so for example, the blankets have been with my family for years now, because they refuse to pay. It went even to as high as the office of the ministry. I don't know how it ended up, because my mother was dealing with that.
Yes.
I don't know how, but we still have those blankets. We want to be paid.
Yo, Solo, thanks for adding that important layer that we couldn't have figured out at all. Really appreciate it. 2 minutes to 10.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
I am Alula Madlamini, an avid Talk Radio 702 listener. Have been listening since way back when it was medium wave, all the way till now. Talk Radio 702 is, it forms part of the network of what my life is made up of, you know, from God to my family to my joy. 702 is my magazine of life. The depth and width of knowledge, from fun to spiritual knowledge and fulfillment. So I find everything on 702, so much that it is the only radio station that I listen to from Monday to Sunday. I am totally sold out on Talk Radio 702.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts,
so we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
Ready to lead the future of business? At Wits Business School, leaders don't just adapt, they define what comes next. Choose from a wide range of postgraduate programs designed to develop your leadership and strategic thinking skills. Whether you're looking to deepen your expertise or broaden your horizons, there's a qualification for you. At Wits Business School, ambition becomes leadership. Visit wbs.ac.za to find the program that's right for you. That's wbs.ac.za.
Pneumococcal disease can strike at any time, especially if you live with a chronic condition or have weakened immunity. If you're 19 and older with the chronic disease, vaccination can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia. The risk increases for people 65 and older, and vaccination is advised to help prevent serious illness. Ask your healthcare professional about pneumococcal vaccination. Don't wait. Vaccinate. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Spring has sprung at Stodell's Garden Centres. Transform your garden with 50% off on a massive variety of plants and also 50% off a wide selection of pots. Experience the colour, happiness and buzz of spring when you shop at Stodell's Garden Centres. Visit Stodell's at Bryanston, Ferndale or Menlo Park and add a burst of colour to your garden. Stodell's. Create happiness. Offer ends 7 September. T's and C's apply.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Police have confirmed that the 121 dockets of the KwaZulu-Natal Police Political Killings Task Team have been returned to the province for the continuation of investigations. The dockets, containing mostly murders committed in KZN, were submitted to the police headquarters in March this year. KZN Police Head Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi raised concerns that they were sitting gathering dust in Gauteng after they were allegedly taken by Deputy Police Commissioner for Crime Detection Protection, Shadrack Sibia. Police spokesperson Atlenda Mate.
The dockets are in KwaZulu-Natal and they've been handed back over to the political killings task team. The team has already started off where they left off.
A Cape Town man has received a hefty sentence for the murder of an SAPS official. The Khayelitsha Priority Court sentenced Lwandile Nondaka to a total of 40 years for the police murder that happened in Philippi in 2023. The 34-year-old man entered into a plea agreement with the state and will effectively serve 28 years direct imprisonment. Hawk spokesperson Siabulela Vugubi.
This stems from September 2023 when two off-duty SAPS members, both stationed at Bishop Levitt's SAPS, were sitting in a VW Polo in Philippi. They were accosted by two suspects who randomly shot at them. Constable Violeti Bugin was fatally wounded while his colleague sustained gunshot wounds.
Western Cape Mobility MEC Isaac Sileku says his department has made repeated attempts to bring rival taxi associations to the negotiating table in Cape Town. Kata and Kodeta failed to reach consensus during peace talks last week, sparking a fresh bout of violence which has left 5 people dead. The department has been granted a court interdict prohibiting the associations from interfering with transport services at various key routes. Kodeta spokesperson Makosandile Tumana has called on Sileku to help the taxi associations to reach an agreement.
The Office of the Mobility and the Office of the Premier must intervene to find a solution in this matter.
At least 10 people are now known to have been killed during protests in Indonesia. The figure was provided by the state-affiliated National Commission on Human Rights, one of several organizations to report fatalities during the last week's unrest. The disturbances that rocked Southeast Asia's biggest economy were sparked by discontent over economic inequality and the lavish perks that are being received by lawmakers. They later widened to include anger against police after footage circulated online of the killing of a young driver by a paramilitary unit. The unrest in multiple cities across Indonesia was the worst since President Prabowo Subianto took power last year and forced the ex-general into a U-turn on perks for legislators. Gold is trading at $3,531.58 an ounce. The rand is at 17.72 to the dollar, 23.68 to the pound, 20.61 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $61.95 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. This is between the Geldenhuys Interchange and Van Buren Road due to an accident while traveling towards Sandton. Another accident seen on the M1 South after Greyston Drive off-ramp. It's causing heavy delays coming out of Marlborough Drive, while in Hyde Park, some delays along Jan Smuts Avenue just as you come out of Bolton Road, just as due to an earlier accident.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 30 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Police have confirmed that the 121 dockets of the KwaZulu-Natal Police Political Killings Task Team have been returned to the province for the continuation of investigations.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7.
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Five minutes after 10 o'clock, Thabo in for Clement. We're together till 12. Great having you with us. Welcome. It's always wonderful to have your reaction to some of the topics that we put on the table for us to discuss as a nation. Some would be light, some would be very difficult to deal with. And as you would know, there is never ever a dull moment in South Africa. Every single day, the news cycle is always on steroids. I'm thrilled to have you with us. And previously on the open line, we touched on the issue of shortage of linens at Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital. And they were citing, among others, that there are more patients coming through their doors. But they're also saying that there are some delays as far as purchasing is concerned. But from one of their suppliers, we are told that many of these items, those linen items, are stuck in the private hands of service providers who are supposed to be washing these linen items for hospitals, and these hospitals are not making payments on time. So the service providers would rather hold back giving them the linen and saying that as soon as we get payment, we will then give you back your linen. Apparently, this also contributes to the shortages. This is what happens when you become our eyes on our ears, because we go beyond official spin that is given to both you and I through the platforms that spokespersons occupy, and through the media releases that they dish out to the public. We get to hear the truth when you are part of that cycle, that value chain that informs us about what's happening on the ground. It's truly appreciated that you are so sharp and you are always so wide awake, and you keep us posted. In this hour, we will touch on a very important work of the Anti-Corruption Advisory Agency, the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Agency known as NACEC. We'll chat a little bit about what is it that they do and their recommendations as far as changes to law enforcement agencies. And law enforcement agencies would speak to anything from those dealing with the intelligence to those who have their feet on the ground as far as SAPS is concerned. 8 minutes after 10 o'clock.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa on Thursday received the closeout report from the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. As I said, it's officially, well, not officially, but it's colloquially known as NACEC, the findings of which will soon be released publicly. And the presidency realized that this is a very important work that has been done. And it was held at the Union Buildings in Pretoria, where it was chaired by President Ramaphosa. Some of the critical things that came out of this are recommendations which include establishment of a permanent, independent, overarching anti-corruption body, and the strengthening and coordination of law enforcement agencies, and the use of artificial intelligence to prevent corruption, and the establishment of an anti-corruption data sharing framework. We thought we should just bring their work under the spotlight so that we understand a little bit better about them. There are various agencies in South Africa, and at times it's difficult to keep up. And we thought we should invite David Lewis, the deputy member. Well, he's a member of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. David Lewis, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702. Good morning to you.
Thanks, Thabo. Good morning to you too.
Again, please forgive my elementary opening question, because I always want to have us on the same page and not assume that everyone else knows where we are as far as your progress is concerned. Let's touch a little bit about the formation of NACEC 2 or 3 years ago. What is it meant to do, and where do we place it in the value chain of governance as far as trying to fight crime is concerned in South Africa?
Well, it has quite a wide mandate, quite a broad mandate, but the core parts of the mandate are to examine the country's institutional architecture in combating corruption, which largely consists of the law enforcement agencies, though others, and we're asked to recommend the establishment of a single. We're asked to examine the feasibility and the usefulness of establishing a single anti-corruption agency, and then also to recommend measures aimed at strengthening the law enforcement agencies. And then there are others about whistleblowing, communication, but the two core mandates, I think it's fair to say, are about institutional architecture and how to strengthen the law enforcement agencies.
One of the glaring findings that you have pointed out too is the fact that the country's ability to combat corruption is being undermined by a weak crime intelligence system. But you didn't go as far as asking for the disbandment of that particular agency. Say a little bit more about that, please, David.
Yeah, well, I think that the country has known about the rot inside crime intelligence since the days of the infamous Mdluli, who Jacob Zuma made head of crime intelligence in exchange for assistance, let's say, during his presidency of the ANC and of the country, and it has gone downhill even since then. It's an absolutely vital institution in providing intelligence to organizations that are fighting organized crime and organizations that are fighting corruption. And it is missing in action. In fact, it's not only missing in action, it's positively setting the country back by its interventions. And so we had to look at what to do about this. And we had to do this in a context where SAPS made it impossible for us to meet with them. They simply dodged meeting with us. But we met a lot of other people who had been involved in law enforcement, who were expert at law enforcement, and several of them did recommend the disbanding of the Crime Intelligence Agency, which has a budget of about twice the size of the Hawks, to give you some perspective on this. So we felt we couldn't go that far not having met them. So what we have recommended is something close to that, but that we think will be a better solution, and that is to allow the Hawks, who we have recommended be charged with investigating organized crime, and the independent investigating directorate in the NPA, which is charged with investigating and prosecuting serious corruption and serious commercial crime, that these two bodies be allowed to establish their own crime intelligence units.
Yeah. And
arguably there should be a third crime intelligence unit advising SAPS. So we have recommended the breakup, certainly, of crime intelligence, and we think this is a really urgent task. Fortunately, the Madlanga Commission is going to be investigating them as well. So there's a dovetailing between, if you like, the end of our work and the beginning of the Madlanga Commission's work, which I think is fortunate.
David Lewis, sticking a little bit with crime intelligence. In your findings, did you find in any way that there were some elements of interference from nefarious entities or individuals who are not supposed to have their fingers in not just the till of the crime intelligence, but the operations thereof? Were there any suspicions of political interference, to be direct with you?
There was certainly we heard nothing about political interference. That wasn't, strictly speaking, our mandate. We were, unlike, say, the Zondo Commission, or indeed unlike the pending Madlanga Commission, we weren't investigating particular cases or particular matters. Ours was to provide policy advice about the structure of law enforcement agencies in the country, and about how to improve the law enforcement agencies.
How binding would your recommendations be? How far can they go? Or you just recommend and you look away, and it's up to the acting minister in this instance to take what you say or just add a pinch of salt to the report?
Well, That's always an interesting question. I'd like to think none of us are going to sit back and wait for our recommendations to be accepted. I think we'll take a leaf out of Justice Zondo's books and continue demanding that our recommendations be accepted. That having been said, the recommendations received a very positive response from the president. And indeed, the day after we met the president, we met with a largish group of stakeholders, and they too, not without doubts here or questions here and there, but they too felt positive. And our former chairperson, Feroz Kachalia, is now the Minister of Police, so I guess that should help. And we've also engaged with the Ministry of Justice, and the minister there too has been supportive of our proposals.
Yeah, it's 17 minutes after 10. My guest is David Lewis, who is a member of Anti-Corruption Advisory Council, also known as NACEC. David, one of the things that you have put forward is establishment of Office of Public Integrity. We are already heavily laden with various entities, sub-entities of entities. How is this one going to be different, and what do you envisage OPI to be doing different to existing structures?
Yeah, I was waiting for that question, and it's a question worth asking. We found that a real gap in the anti-corruption architecture of the public sector is any body dealing with and focused exclusively on preventing corruption. We have plenty of bodies, and they're not doing that well, who are responsible for law enforcement agencies, are responsible for investigating and prosecuting corruption, but we don't have many organizations responsible for preventing corruption. The SIU the Special Investigating Unit, comes as close as we get to that. So the OPI will be a body that focuses on preventing corruption. And there are a variety of ways of going about that, and they vary considerably. The one is, and this arguably may be the most important instrument, will be investigating systemic corruption, which is to say, there are some institutions. Let's take everybody's favorite example at the moment, Tembisa Hospital. There are some institutions in which there is so much corruption. It's so much part of the daily life of the institution that you have to believe that there is something wrong with the managerial and governance systems of the institution that make it so vulnerable to corruption. There inevitably are also crooked people there who have to be weeded out. But if you just weed out the crooked people and put more people in, the system remains vulnerable to corruption. It will remain corrupted. And so that's what the OPI will do that no other agency in the country is exclusively focused on, and that is preventing corruption. And it will merge with the SIU, which is, as I say, a body that does some of this work already and does it well.
Apologies for that. Do you think that perhaps its independence will be somehow enforced by the fact that you would want it to be entrenched in a Chapter 9 of the Constitution, such as the Human Rights Commission and others? Placing it under Chapter 9 institution, does it give it a little bit more of a sting?
It gives it a little bit more protection. Everybody always cites the example of the Scorpions, which were, just disbanded at the whim of the executive. That couldn't happen with a Chapter 9 institution. But in addition to that, we've also recommended, you probably know that at the moment, the SIU can only act on a proclamation issued by the president. Recommended that requirement be done away with, that the president may, of course, order investigations by the new agency, but the new agency may also take up investigations on its own initiative, which also improves its independence. And we've recommended that it have the independence to set its own salary limits, its own salary structure within limits, and make its own decisions regarding employment. So we have focused significantly on that question of independence.
You pragmatically looking at this suggested OPI, you wanted to have investigative functions, including risk mapping, systemic and audits, and civil investigations.
Yeah.
Are we not duplicating tasks that ought to be in existence? And as opposed to having a new structure altogether, perhaps to revamp what is there and use the resources that are already there by getting rid of people who don't want to work and do their jobs, and bring in people who can and who are able to do their jobs?
Yeah, look, I mean, we have focused on the existing law enforcement agencies to a significant degree. But when we talk about the OPI doing investigation, it's not the investigation of criminality and the bringing to prosecution of a particular individual. We're talking about them investigating the systems that govern government agencies, public agencies, and looking at those systems and finding where the weaknesses are in the systems that allow for corruption of the scale found in certain of our organizations. And I should add that the reason why we focused on prevention is that I think the public don't sufficiently appreciate how difficult it is to investigate on a criminal standard of proof corruption, which is a secret conspiracy like cartels between two parties, and you've got to luck out and have a whistleblower somewhere in the scene. It's very difficult to investigate and prosecute corruption. Not impossible, and we could do much better. But that means that it doesn't act as a very great deterrence, as the deterrence that there is to, murder, where you are much more certain of catching the perpetrator and successfully prosecuting him or her. We're focusing on investigating systemic corruption, and that doesn't overlap with the law enforcement agencies' investigations. What will happen is that when you look at something like Tembisa Hospital, you'll find that indeed there are systemic problems, but you'll also inevitably come across the bad apples. And where the OPI does that, it must refer the evidence of criminality on the part of individuals or a network of individuals to the NPA and the IDAC, in the investigating directorate in the NPA. So we've been very careful about overlap. And we've been very careful about trying to get this thing set up as quickly and as inexpensively, as cost-effectively as possible, which are two of the reasons why we've recommended that it be merged with the SIU, actually.
David Lewis is with NICAC, which is a National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. They have some very interesting recommendations that they've put forward for their president's consideration. It's 25 minutes after 10 o'clock. You are on 702. If you'd like to share a thought, a view, or a consideration at all, feel free to do so on 072 702 1702, or call us directly and ask him a question on 011 883 0702. David, the issue that you've raised and that South Africa has seen, and perhaps with much despair, is the matter of, or should I say the phenomena of whistleblowers, where they do not necessarily enjoy much of support in South Africa. To their demise, they bring up information in the attempts to fighting corruption, but their fate is almost sealed, as they will be living as pariahs in their society, socially and economically. Do you have any thoughts around this, any tangible recommendations around the protection of whistleblowers?
Yeah, interesting question. I mean, we have recommended that the responsibility for protecting whistleblowers be handed to the OPI, actually. And we've recommended support for them, psychosocial support, a degree of financial support, and confidentiality where that is necessary, and very often it indeed is. But the interesting point that you raise is that they will be regarded as pariahs. And we believe that, firstly, that whistleblowing and fighting corruption generally has to be championed at the very top of government by the president himself. And we believe that when the president honors whistleblowers, singles them out, not necessarily their names, but singles them out for their contribution to fighting corruption, and when there is a massive communications effort by the OPI to educate the public about what whistleblowers are doing, about what corruption is doing to us, and about how vital whistleblowing is in combating corruption, then we hope that notion that these people are impimpies or pariahs will disappear. And it's a tough one, that it really is a tough one. But we believe that, with a communications effort that goes beyond simply issuing media releases, but that is about telling the public, that is about using film, that is about using social media, that is about using billboards, that is about using, and it is indeed about using radio, but about using every communication mechanism available to us to educate the public. And in the course of our work, we saw some international agencies, and I had the good fortune to look at the Hong Kong agency, and there the communication has been extraordinary, and the outcome has been phenomenal. And people just have to see in Hong Kong a poster with the logo of their anti-corruption agency on it, and they know that they're being watched, and they know what their duties are. And that's what we want agency to achieve.
Yeah.
I don't doubt, with the help of people like yourself on radio, which is probably the most important communication mechanism, actually, but we want it to be a really creative, really intensive. I mean, I think of our efforts during the early days of the AIDS epidemic, and how much was done there. That's the kind of behavior change communication that we want to see.
Sure. I have just a few seconds, if you will. I just want to squeeze this in, because after our chat, we will be crossing to Dr. Christy Cook. And this is about the Madlanga Commission. You've also had your 2 cents worth there, that Madlanga Commission's extensive powers. You want to add some powers there, to including subpoenas. Say a little bit about that in the next few seconds before we say goodbye, David.
Yeah. I have to say, I think they do have subpoena power. So I don't know if we recommended that, it was superfluous, because they do. Listen, this Madlanga Commission should have been set up 15 years ago. This crisis in the police that we're going through now was a crisis waiting to happen. But now that it's there, we're fortunate that it can dovetail with our recommendations, because we've made baseline recommendations about the institutional character, but it will be for the Madlanga Commission to elaborate that, expand on that, and they will be principally focused on the SAPS.
Yeah.
And boy, do our SAPS need a kick up the backside, to put it quite mildly, because they really are a functioning organization.
We'll have to end it on that note. Always a pleasure talking to you, David Lewis, member of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. 10:30. Sfiso Zulu will tell us what's the latest on Eyewitness News headlines. Morning again, Sfiso.
Thanks, Thabo. Good morning. Police say keeping the political killings task team docket in Pretoria would have been tantamount to defeating the ends of justice. Last week, National Commissioner Fani Masemula sent the 121 dockets back to KwaZulu-Natal for the team to continue with its investigations. The dockets came under the spotlight when KZN Police Head Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi accused Deputy Police Commissioner for Crime Detection Shadrack Sibia of keeping them in Pretoria. In Cape Town, about 500 foreign nationals living at two sites in the city have been handed eviction notices. The occupants living in Bellville were relocated during the COVID-19 pandemic after being evicted from Green Market Square in the city's CBD. The foreign nationals mostly from DRC and Burundi. And at least 25 people have been killed in 3 attacks in Pakistan. 14 of them died after a suicide bomber targeted a political rally in the southwestern province of Balochistan. Another attack in Balochistan near the border with Iran claimed 5 lives yesterday, while 6 soldiers were killed after a suicide attack on their base. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11, or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling in Bramley on the M1 South, an accident reported right near Corlett Drive. It's causing delays coming out of Greyston Drive. While travelling in North Riding, particularly along Northumberland Avenue, an accident reported. This one is right near Vertikoppen Road and is causing heavy delays. So please be on the lookout there. About a 15-minute hold up at that intersection. And if you're travelling on the Golden Highway in Devland, we still have got those long-term roadworks taking place. As a result, delays between the N1 exit and Union Avenue. About a 15-minute hold up there, so please be patient on the road. The one lane that's open to traffic has been used as a two-way form traffic, so please approach and drive with care. I'll have more updates for you at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This isn't an event, it's a statement. When you choose Thirst Mobile Bar Services, you choose confidence without spectacle. These discreet mobile bars come with expert mixologist and service that speaks louder than words. Every detail refined, every pour intentional, every guest remembered. Thirst Mobile Bar Services, the perfect ingredient, the perfect outcome for those who expect more and settle for nothing less. Secure your year-end date now at thirst.co.za.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Prostate cancer is the most common cancer affecting South African men. Many men don't realize there are usually no symptoms of prostate cancer in the early stages. That's why we at the Prostate Cancer Foundation are asking you to help us raise awareness about prostate cancer during September by suiting up for just one day. To find out more about prostate cancer and to purchase your Suit Up September badge for only 50 Rand, go to prostatecancerfoundation.coza.
Backed by popular demand, legendary jazz icon Kenny G will be performing at the Super Bowl at Sun City on Friday, the 3rd of October. Get ready for an unforgettable night of timeless hits and pure musical magic. Get your tickets from webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by Breakout Events and 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
The B20 in brief is brought to you by Standard Bank, where Africa's voice meets the world stage. 25 minutes to 11 o'clock, and thanks very much for joining us. My name is Thabo Shole-Mashao. I am in for Clement. We are together until 12 o'clock. The discussion that we held with David Lewis earlier on was very enlightening about the work of NACEC. And we have various agencies that are coming through. It's important that we shine the light on them and get to understand what each is doing. And at times it sounds like a duplication. Hence, we thought we should bring him on board. It's always great to have it from the horse's mouth. 25 to 11 o'clock. Over the past 2 days, the M20 Summit has brought the media's perspective into the broader G20 discussions here in South Africa. The intentional conference explores the role of media and journalism in strengthening information integrity, seen as vital for human rights, good governance, global cooperation, and public trust to drive social and economic development. The summit also brings forward perspectives from emerging G20 economies, African voices, and other media stakeholders, shaping practical proposals that reflect both G20 priorities and the unique challenges of developing nations. Joining us to share more is the Treasurer General, TG, of the South African National Editors Forum, Mr. Sbu Ngalwa. He's sitting right in front of me. Sbu, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to 702.
Thank you, Tibos. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. It's been a grueling 2 days, but here we are.
Yeah, and that's why we dragged you into the studio to get to understand this a little bit more. But what was the broad outcome of discussions held during the summit? But just maybe to lay a bit of context why this conversation is important. We're hosting the G20 and we have the presidency. We'll be handing it to the US, and business would have the B20 version of that. M20 is the media version of that. Hence, I'm asking the broader outcomes of discussions that were held during the summit.
Okay. No, thanks, Tibos. But maybe let me go back a little bit as to why we had this M20. Now, this originated in India during India's presidency. There was a group of journalists and editors in India who felt that there were issues that were related to the media but relevant to the G20 that were not part of the main agenda. So they'd organized a Media 20, as you are seeing, as you've mentioned, that there are a number of parallel programs. Like today, you've got the Chief Justice addressing the J20, you've got business with B20, you've got task team of think tanks as the T20. So the M20 is the media, right? Having discussions around issues of common interest in these G20 countries, but also because this South African presidency is also by the African Union, including countries in the global south and African countries. So the reason why we had this one, in fact, this was the first in-person M20 Summit. But it carries on from the discussions that were. So from India, it moved to Brazil last year, and now it was South Africa. Now, why we had to have this one and what of the outcomes is that when we came to the South African version, we felt that there were progressive discussions that were held in Brazil, particularly around the issue of information integrity, which we felt that coming to the South African presidency, those things were not mainstreamed. And South Africa chose to focus, when it comes to technology and media, they chose to focus on a subset, which is the issue of deep fakes. We can discuss that. So we felt that needed to come back into the main discussion. So we rallied the global partners and some of our partners from the African continent to have this M20. So what are the outcomes, Tibos? The main thrust, the main issue, so we had a declaration which we will be sharing with the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, with the hope and that he will be able to forward that to the G20 leaders. The issue of information integrity, we said that we feel that it is an important issue for democracies and G20 countries to deal with. So they must not lose sight of that. By information integrity, Thabo, I'm referring to the entire information ecosystem, where we are now threatened by deep fakes and a lot of disinformation and information and misinformation. So information integrity is about the accuracy of the information that is put out there, and also the reliability of that information. And organizations like the UN have actually taken it seriously to say that there are principles of information integrity that must be shared and that must be adhered to by all countries. And it's important that the media is one of those 5 principles.
Yeah.
So issue of safety of journalists, but also more importantly, the centrality of journalism and the media in the advancement of democracy. So those are some of the issues.
Yeah,
yeah.
And media can just be seen as almost a peripheral entity that just transports information when these big events are being held, especially of this global nature that have got to do with geopolitics. But it's a very integral part of the entire system. As you would know far better than me, what is happening throughout the world is directly affecting journalists, so much that some of them are now paying the ultimate price for covering those stories. I wanted to ask, well, how's the broader sector safeguarding itself from the existential threat of revenue pressures? Because media space is feeling a bit of a pinch as far as rents and cents are concerned.
That's exactly a part of the reason we had this M20. And I also think that the success of it came from partners realizing that we've got common challenges. Obviously, on the African continent, those will be more pronounced. We'll have our unique issues. Like, for instance, you saw there were issues of internet shutdowns in countries like Kenya. But when it comes to the pressure, the reality is that we all accept by now that there's been a market failure, right? In that the business model that has sustained the media for all these years is outdated. It no longer works. That is why newspapers are closing down. That is why when you hold a newspaper, you actually feel it's very light, right? And also that is why you've had some media companies closing down. I mean, Bona Magazine, there were things we used to, that was so iconic. I mean, black people, when you say, hey, when you're posing for a picture, say, do the Bona pose, everyone understood because these media products had become ubiquitous, had become part of our daily lives. So given the challenges that we have, the decline in the media, unfortunately, has been replaced by an increase in disinformation and misinformation. So that is why then the M20 Summit was a crucial one and an important one. And these conversations are important, that what then do we do to sustain journalism? So there are a number of proposals that have been put forward. These include governments accepting that journalism is a public good, in the same way that going to the park or driving on a public road should be considered a public good. Citizens and communities have a right to information, the right information, and to be able to freely access it. That is why we are saying that if the business model is broken, we're not saying let's bring back newspapers, right? We all most of us read our news from digital products, from our phones. So then let us make sure that data prices come down, even to a point where you zero rate credible news content. And we are saying to platforms, these are tech platforms, your Googles, Facebook, and so on, they must actually promote credible news content because there is a lot of disinformation, right? So which then says, Tibos, if somebody is getting a piece of information, they know that I can go to this particular product, I can go to 702 because 702 adheres to the BCCSA and also to the Press Council of South Africa.
Yeah.
So that becomes like an SAPS stamp of approval.
Yes.
Right? So those are some of the interventions. But also government can directly be involved in helping the media, as it has happened in other countries. For instance, there are transmission licenses that radio stations pay.
Yes.
Those are things that can be subsidized by government to help companies. You can also zero rate newspaper products or donations to media companies. Maybe you can get a rebate via SARS. So these are some of the conversations we are having because the business model is broken, but journalism must thrive, and journalism is necessary for the functioning of a democracy.
You have the luxury of having international partners, international associates, and colleagues from across various countries coming together discussing this. I'm interested in knowing from you about the takeaways, especially from the international aspect of things, because South African context may be a little bit different, especially as far as internet penetration is concerned, as in one example. What are some of the takeaways from other counterparts that you've picked up already?
So the beauty about it is that's why at the end of this 2-day summit, we came with a declaration, which actually was endorsed by 45 partners and organizations, right, including media organizations in Africa, and we all agree on the in the main, Thabo, in terms of the main issues. We all agree that there is a decline in a viable media landscapes, which is creating a void for disinformation. And we're also saying that some of the takeaways is that there is a lot of misinformation that is amplified by AI platforms, actually. Because what clever people are doing, you know, when you search AI on your phone, it gives you a ready answer. So you can actually feed it a lot of wrong answers. Yeah. And then when you prompt it and say, who is Thabo Shole-Mashao? Yeah. Then it gives you wrong answers, which is called AI hallucinations.
Yes.
So those are some of the things that are a threat to the current information ecosystem. That we're saying platforms must have a conversation, all of us as governments, policymakers, media, business, and actually tech platforms, as to how do we deal with these issues. And then we also, some of the takeaways also deal with the issue of, we've touched on the issue of media sustainability. And then there's assaults on journalists, because there was a time when we were dealing with physical threats to journalists. We've got colleagues that have been murdered by the Israeli regime in Gaza, but at the same time, we've got online violence, particularly against journalists and in particular women journalists, right? So we are saying that tech platforms have a responsibility. You can't just have information or people being attacked and denigrated and then you take a hands-off approach. So everyone has a role to play in that regard.
But I want us to come to the rest. I just need to take a break. Please pardon me, Sbu. Then I will come back and ventilate on the rest of those. Sbu Ngalwa is my guest. He's Treasurer General of the South African National Editors Forum. And we are looking at the M20 Summit that speaks to the media gathering. And it has brought some media perspective in the broader G20 discussions here in South Africa. 13 minutes to 11 o'clock.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays
12 to 1.
On the Midday Report, every day from 12 to 1 p.m, we will bring you breaking news from the scene as it unfolds with newsmakers, reporters, commentators, experts and analysts. We'll explain the stories of the day, give you context for why they are important and what they mean for you. It is everything you need to know in 1 hour, from news to global events, business, sports, science, books, and always some good news too. Appointment listening every day at 12 with the Midday Report.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
What new cost-cutting business strategies would you need for a 20% saving on your operating expenses? Only one? Switch to OUTsurance Business and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium for medical specialties like dental, physiotherapy, surgical, and other industries. OUTsurance Business are trusted experts in business insurance. Get a quote today. It's easy. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Are you living with diabetes? Tired of painful fingerstick tests? Introducing a new continuous glucose monitoring system from Abbott Laboratories. The Freestyle Libre 2 system sends glucose readings straight to your compatible smartphone. With minute-by-minute glucose readings, optional glucose alarms, and excellent accuracy, the Freestyle Libre system is here to support you in the management of your diabetes. For more information and where to buy your Freestyle Libre 2 sensor, visit www.freestylelibre.za.com. Now available at your local pharmacy.
One festival, endless flavor, and 2 unforgettable days of timeless music. The DSTV Delicious International Food and Music Festival, powered by Lotto Star, returns on 20 and 21 September at Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit. On Saturday, the stage erupts with Don Toliver, Questa, and Nkabi Zezwe. Then on Sunday, experience the legendary Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, Lyra, and more. The DSTV Delicious Festival, powered by Lotto Star. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
11 to 11. Thabo in for Clement. We're together till 12. Really appreciate your time. We are speaking about the M20 Summit that has brought the media's perspective to a bigger, in general, G20 discussion. I'm sure wherever you are, you know that we are hosting the G20 and we have its presidency until the end of the year, and we'll be handing it over to the US. And thus, various elements of society have come through to make sure that all these nations get to discuss in their compartments various issues that are affecting them. You know about Women 20, Think Tank 20, T20, and various others. Media is called M20, and they're discussing important issues that are affecting both you and I directly, because every single day we're engaged with receiving and deciphering information from media, and some outlets are not credible, others are credible, and this is important because as you're sitting at home, you need to get credible, accurate information in order to make serious decisions about yourself and your life. The Treasurer General of the South African National Editors Forum is joining me now, Sibungalwa. He's sitting right in front of me, and we are ventilating what came out of those discussions in the summit. So once again, I mean, we've touched brazenly and perhaps passingly on critical issues of misinformation, disinformation, and to a lot of people that may seem like one and the same thing. But just very briefly, I'd like you just to ventilate that in layman's term, and because that's very critical for people who are consumers of media to make decisions based on that.
So, misinformation and disinformation are closely related concepts. But misinformation is me telling Thabo what I think I heard, thinking that it is correct, but it is actually incorrect. Right? That's misinformation. Disinformation is me fabricating a story
deliberately
and telling Thabo that Clement is no longer the host of the show.
Now, that is that I don't know.
Now that is disinformation, right? So that's why the two concepts are always spoken about in one with the other, because they're closely related. And I think when it comes to society, it's about all the information. I mean, you know this from your family WhatsApp group. How many times you have to tell your relatives that something is not true. And that is why these things are dangerous to society. Because in Kenya, there was violence that followed the elections, right? In other parts of the world, there is deliberate disinformation. And remember, this thing, Thabo, is not just about those people who sit here are not people who are doing this. It's not a fluke. They're doing it deliberately. It destabilizes nations. That's why in coming together for this M20 Summit, we actually had the involvement of also B20, which is led by Standard Bank. Now, B20 is business, organized business in South Africa, where they said that we also believe that the issues of the media are actually mainstream issues. Because remember, for business to thrive, they need a stable, democratic environment, right? And for the communities and the public out there to make informed decisions, be it about elections, be it about governments, or be it about their lives, where their children study, where they live, they need credible information. That is why it's important for governments, and particularly G20 countries, to understand that if there is inaction around these issues, these are not peripheral issues. These are mainstream issues. These things can lead to the erasure of the information ecosystem. It poses a direct threat to people's economic safety and civil rights, and even the stability of countries. So that's the important thing about this issue, Thabo.
How important is the camaraderie, or should I say the solidarity of various voices throughout the globe of media to come together, as much as there may be existential differences, but there be a common purpose for distribution, dissemination of accurate media? Partners from the continent and elsewhere coming together. How important is that solidarity?
It is particularly important, especially in the context of Africa, because Africa is still seen by some players as being a backwater that is last in their thoughts, right? So, but what is important for us is that the world is changing. The old model of media and media consumption has changed. We are now in the new world. We are not to be left behind. So it is important. That is why you've got organizations, SANEF, working with the African Editors Forum, is mobilizing partners to make sure that the conversations are the same. Because remember what tech companies are doing. They went to Australia and then there were deals they struck with big publishers. They've done it in other countries like Canada. Yes, they may be walking back on some of those, but in South Africa, there are ongoing conversations between some publishers and big tech companies, particularly Google, whose details we know nothing about because they are closed. So what is important is that the media in Africa should actually speak in one voice, which is what is one of the purposes, in that when tech companies come to South Africa or go to Nigeria or go to Kenya, in terms of the understanding of the issues of compensation for the use of our content, and also helping the media to be promoted in terms of helping communities make decisions. Those are some of the things that we are doing, Thabo, and making sure that we have the same conversation. Sure. That's why we had a lot of participants actually from all the 5 regions of Africa.
We have a few seconds left, Sbu, but I just want to squeeze this in, if you will. Do you anticipate the M20, because we are giving the G20 presidency to America at the end of the year?
Look, you're saying for next year?
Yeah.
Look, yes, because this is not a government program. It's an independent initiative that was put together by SANEF and the Media Monitoring Africa. So there are already about 5 organizations in the US that have shown interest in hosting the next M20, because we all agree that these conversations are not peripheral. We should directly influence the decision makers. And that's exactly the point, Thabo.
Yeah. It's been great chatting to you, Sbu. I'm sure this is not the last time, and I wish you all the best with the M20 Summit, and we'll chat again in the near future. Sbu Ngalwa is Treasurer General of South African National Editors Forum. At the heart of global conversations shaping the future, Africa's voice matters more than ever. As Africa's largest bank by assets and lead sponsor of the B20 Summit, Standard Bank Group is proud to spotlight the continent's growth, partnerships and potential on the world stage. Through informed dialogue and powerful partnerships, Standard Bank is driving sustainable growth where it matters most. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Ready, jet, go! 2 fully paid trips to the Abu Dhabi Motor Racing Spectacular must be won in the thrilling new JetX competition exclusive to Hollywood Bets. An unforgettable experience awaits on one of the fastest circuits on the planet, with the world's top drivers battling for supremacy. To stand a chance to win, bet 10 Rand or more on JetX. 1 million Rand in cash is also up for grabs. Hollywood Bets. Fly higher with our multiplier. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
If you want to know about the heart and art of jazz, look no further than the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival, a grand ensemble of over 50 world-class acts across 4 stages for 3 whole days. That's right, from the 26th, 27th and 28th of September. The Sandton Convention Centre will be demure and sophisticated as the fine Standard Bank Joy of Jazz 2025 takes you deep into the heart, the art and splendour of jazz. Take me there. Book your seat via Ticketmaster now.
They've stood tall, served hard, and dreamed big. Now it's time to honor the best among them. It's Gauteng's Greatest Awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Tune in on Tuesday, 9 September from 6 a.m. when we reveal the winners and celebrate the excellence that make Gauteng feel like home. Because every time a business wins, the whole community shines. Gauteng's Greatest Awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko counter fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Walking the talk, almost 11 o'clock. Just quickly, before we go to Eyewitness News, we'll be doing a listener's choice, and that's something that you don't want to miss. How much do South Africans really spend on food? I'd love to hear from you. But first, Eyewitness News at 11.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I am Sfiso Zulu. The Usendiso Commission of Inquiry investigating the deadly building fire in Johannesburg says the prevalence of hijacked buildings is driven largely by poverty and lack of affordable housing. The Commission's final report shows that the Commission assumption, or the common assumption, that buildings are illegally overtaken purely for profit by so-called slumlords is wrong. The Gauteng government is today releasing the Commission's final findings. The inquiry, chaired by retired Justice Sisi Gampepe, was tasked with investigating the root causes of hijacked buildings in Gauteng following the Usendiso tragedy where 76 people died during a fire. Speaking at a media briefing this morning, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says that the commissioners inspected over 100 hijacked buildings across the province.
The investigation challenges the common assumptions that hijacked buildings are the primary problem. Evidence shows that only a small minority, 5.7%, of properties had allegations of rent collection by non-owners. The crisis is instead driven by extreme poverty and a severe lack of affordable housing, forcing people into unsafe living conditions.
Police say keeping the political killings task team dockets in Pretoria would have been tantamount to defeating the ends of justice. Last week, National Commissioner Fanny Masemola sent the 121 dockets back to KwaZulu-Natal for the team to continue with its investigations. The dockets came under the spotlight when KZN Police Head Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi accused Deputy Police Commissioner for Crime Detection Shadrack Sibia of keeping them in Pretoria. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Police spokesperson Adlenda Mate says Fanny Masemola's decision to return the dockets to KwaZulu-Natal is due to them largely containing murder cases. At least 100 of the dockets include murder cases of politicians and traditional leaders in KwaZulu-Natal. Mate says the National Police Commissioner says he does not want the cases to delay.
When the National Commissioner took a decision to return the dockets, it was merely to ensure that we do not delay justice for the families that are waiting for answers and for the victims that have died.
The task team has already resumed with its investigations. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
About 500 foreign nationals living at two sites in Cape Town have been handed eviction notices. The occupants living in Bellville were relocated during the COVID-19 pandemic after being moved from the CBD. The foreign nationals are mostly from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi. Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis says many of the occupants have moved from the sites, but the remaining ones refuse to be relocated. Congolese national Emeka Mazimwe has been living on the Wangfield site for 6 years. He says all the refugees want is a safe place to live.
Remember, we have kids going to school, we need hospitality, we need everything. We are human no matter we are refugee, but we still a human as others.
And at least 25 people have been killed in 3 attacks in Pakistan. 14 of them died after a suicide bomber targeted a political rally in the southwestern province of Balochistan. Another attacker in the province near the border with Iran claimed 5 lives yesterday, while 6 soldiers were killed after a suicide attack on their base. Balochistan is Pakistan's largest and most resource-rich province, but it's also its poorest and regularly ranks among the lowest on Human Development Indicator scorecards. Pakistani forces have been battling an insurgency in the province for more than a decade now, and in 2024, the region saw a sharp rise in violence with 782 people killed. Gold is trading at $3,531.58 an ounce. The rand is at 17.72 to the dollar, 23.68 to the pound, 20.61 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $68.95 a barrel.
And in the traffic heading towards Pennyville via the N1 South, we've got an accident right after Albertina Sisulu Road is causing heavy traffic volumes. While travelling in Bramley, we still have got that one on the M1 South right near Corler Drive. Delays from Grayston Drive off-ramp. There's also queuing traffic due to an earlier accident in North Riding at Northumberland Avenue and Witkoppen Road, causing heavy delays.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 30 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: the Usendiso Commission of Inquiry investigating the deadly building fire in Johannesburg says the prevalence of hijacked buildings is driven largely by poverty and a lack of affordable housing.
EWN in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7.
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Five after 11, you are on 702. Thanks very much for sticking with us all the way from 9 o'clock to this final hour. My name is Thabo Shole-Mashao. I'm in for Clement. We're together till 12. Great having you on board. We continue with discussions that matter, that make a difference. In a short while, we will be chatting to you about the cost of food and how much you really spend and what goes out of your pocket into the tills, trying to give yourself some nutrition and sustenance. So in a short while, we'll jump straight to that conversation. If you are listening in, a little while ago, we were talking to the Treasurer General of the South African National Editors Forum, Sbu Ngalwa, and we were looking at the M20 on the broader background of the G20 discussions. M20 standing for Media 20, and this is a collective of media entities that bring themselves to address the G20 on issues that are affecting media, information, dissemination, and everything else that has got to do with that. And the international conference explored the role of media and journalism in strengthening information integrity. So that discussion will also be available for you on primemediaplus.com. But for now, 7 minutes after 11, how much do you spend on food? Are you paying with an arm and a leg, or is it something affordable? Let us know on 072 702 1702.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
So on Listener's Choice, this came through, and on Listener's Choice, you'd know that we make it a priority to hear what is it that you would like to know about. And we received very interesting feedback from you that you are worried about the food prices because the cost of living in South Africa continues to bite. And one of the biggest pressure points for various households is food. Every month, millions of families are forced to make tough decisions about what goes into the shopping baskets as prices for basic goods seem to rise faster than incomes. And behind the numbers are real human stories where people cannot afford just a loaf of bread. Some don't even know how much that is. And we have human stories of hunger, nutrition gaps, and stretched budgets that are affecting families. Children go to school without having had breakfast, not out of choice or anything else, but because of affordability affecting their educational performance behind the desk. Various individuals cannot stretch the rent towards the end of the month. Wanted to know from you, please, honestly, and you can remain anonymous, how much do you spend on food every single month? A week, a day? How much do you spend? Let us know. Please send a voice note to 072 702 1702. But we've also invited the program coordinator at Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group, Mervyn Abrams, to give us some insights about this very unfashionable but critical discussion on food. Mervyn, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Thabo, and good morning to all your listeners.
If you don't mind, Mervyn, just give us a sense of what the latest data is telling us about the cost of food in South Africa right now.
So, Thabo, the latest data, we publish a monthly index that contains a food basket of 44 very basic foods. Foods like maize meal and samp and onions and potatoes and a little bit of beef and tripe and brown bread and sugar and milk and eggs. So a very basic basket of food. And that basket of 44 foods in the month of August now stands at 5,380 Rand and 62 cents.
Goodness me.
Now when we dig into the numbers, Thabo, there are conflicting pictures which we actually need to explore. So the one picture is that month on month, so when we look at August and July, then we see that the cost of that basket has come down by 62 Rand and 10 cents. So it's 62 Rand cheaper. But year on year, it is 153 Rand and 48 cents more expensive now in August than it was in August last year. Now, when we look at these figures, the impression is often created. Okay, so now food price inflation is stabilizing. Prices are beginning to come down, particularly with regard to fresh vegetables like potatoes and onions and tomatoes and spinach and carrots. That somehow households are actually able to afford the food. Now, there is a big difference between food prices and cost of living or affordability, as you said in the introduction to this discussion. And it's there that the real problem lies, Thabo. It's with cost of living and with affordability. So, for instance, if I might just continue.
Go ahead, Marvin.
When we look, for instance, at the national minimum wage, now for the month of August, a national minimum wage would have brought something in the region of about 4,836 Rand. Now, already that wage is way below the cost of our basket of food.
Yeah.
Then you add on to that transport, we are told by a lot of communities around the major centers of South Africa that transport costs on average something like about 1,680 Rand.
Yeah.
And then when you look at electricity, because electricity is integral to food preparation and preservation. So without electricity, you'll be suffering.
You're stuck with raw food.
Yeah, exactly. So now that would cost something like 1,180 Rand, 81 Rand. And that leaves about 1,974 Rand from that wage. After you've paid those two expenses, that leaves 1,974 Rand.
Yeah.
Now, there is no way the wage at the beginning couldn't afford the basket. And then when you pay those two things, then, of course, you've only got about 2,000 at the most, 2,000 Rand left.
Then you can't
that's where the
fulfill
problem.
that.
That's where the problem comes.
Yeah, allow me to just jump in just quickly. I want to squeeze in as many questions as possible, especially around what a very important issue that you raised of a food basket. Let's look at those items, Mervyn. Which items have seen the steepest increases recently? Because I think those are very basic and those are the most common that many families can't do without.
So the prices of the food, the individual foods in the basket, they fluctuate. A lot is dependent on, for instance, seasonality. So now we are seeing that, for instance, a lot of fresh vegetables are coming down in price, but 6 months ago, that was driving the upward trend. It was potatoes and onions and carrots that was much more expensive. Now we're seeing the costs coming down of those because these excess are now entering into the market, and so that brings prices down. Where we have seen price increases in this month's basket has to do with particularly beef and particularly with regard to red meat. Red meat has become much more expensive now. And there is a particular reason for it, in the sense that we often run out during this time of the year. So then the price goes up. One really worrying trend for us is that the price of peanut butter, for instance, keep on increasing. It increases and increases and increases. Over the last month, it's increased by another 6%. Now, there is a reason why we're worried about peanut butter in particular, Thabo, because it is a very good protein for children. It is something that you can put on the children's bread, going to school, and it is a solid, good nutritious food. And when those things become much more expensive, then of course households then go for cheaper options. So they might go from peanut butter, they now go to, for instance, 2-minute noodles, which has no nutritional value actually for that child. It only fills the stomach, but it doesn't actually help with nutrition.
Yeah,
so that's where it plays out.
Yeah, so the money in the pocket now competes with nutritional value. And that's something very important to look at. Are there any major differences that we have seen, Mervyn, regarding rural areas versus urban or peri-urban areas as far as food pricing is concerned? Because I'm just thinking, as far as the scales of economies are concerned, you would be also speaking about transportation of food throughout the country. Are we seeing any disparities between the two as far as prices are concerned?
Yes, so we do see that. And it is, as you say, Thabo, largely driven by logistics and the cost of logistics. So we generally see, for instance, the basket in outlying areas like Springbok, where we track, are often much more expensive than, for instance, when you look at say, the city of Cape Town. And that is largely driven by things like how far do we have to transport the food, how much petrol do we use, which is another area of big concern for us, Thabo, because in South Africa, we use the most expensive form of transport. The cheaper form of transport would, of course, be if Transnet organize themselves and get themselves organized. But, of course, we now have to use the road because Transnet is organized. So when you look, for instance, at a place like Springbok, then you see the cost of the basket is 5,763 rand, about 200 rand more than the average cost of the basket.
In the Northern Cape, right? Springbok in the Northern Cape.
In the Northern Cape. That is the far furthest area away from a major metropolitan city that we track, particularly to see the differences in this area. But it's a well-established fact that food in rural areas often costs more because the food leaves the rural areas to be processed, and then it has to come back to the rural area. And so it's all that logistics and petrol cost that needs to be included.
Mervyn, I just want to bring in some listeners who are intently listening to this discussion. I've asked them at the beginning of our discussions to throw in their worth and let us know what their experience is wherever they are on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Thabo. I would like to remain anonymous. Yes, food is very expensive. I think in a household of 4 people, and I'm talking husband, wife, and 2 boys. You know, boys eat a lot. I mean, they eat almost in 2 days, 2 loaves of bread are gone. So on average, food, I'll say 7,000 to 8,000 rand per month. But the elephant in the room, Thabo, that really needs some discussion. It's the cost of electricity. I mean, you spend 2,000 rand, you don't even get 450 units. It's ridiculous. Eskom and the government need to look into this issue of electricity. Electricity is just too expensive in this country. And I challenge government to really look at the issue of electricity. It's going to become unaffordable, the issue of electricity. I thank you.
With the prices of food, it's terrible, man. If you look at the sizes of the eggs, they are getting smaller. And then you look at the Nkomasi bottle, it is being reduced in size. Even the matches, sometimes you find a plain stick which you cannot use. Yeah, no, it's terrible.
Hi, good morning, Thabo. It's Monty from Phosphorus. To tell you the truth, the price of food is killing us. On my own, I spent plus minus 3,500 for the groceries, and after that I buy meat for 3,000. Then there's a bread that you have to buy each and every day. A loaf of bread is 20 rand. So per week you spend 140 rand for bread. It's really killing us, my friend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very interesting there, and I will allow my guest to jump in to give us his perspective. Mervyn Abrams, Program Coordinator, Peter Maritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group. They have come up with some interesting numbers, and hence I asked you, how much are you spending? What are you taking out of your pocket and throwing it into the tills of various retailers for food for yourself and your family in a month, in a day, or in a week? And if you will, annually, how much are you spending? And the report found that the average cost of household food basket increased by 2.9%. It moved from just over 5,200 rands to 5,000 to almost 5,400 rands in August 2025, as opposed to the previous August. And they looked at 44 food items tracked in a basket, and 23 food increased in prices and 21 decreased in prices. It looks like we are having a difficult time. And you would know about the national minimum wage, right? That it's standing at about 4,800 rands or so for a work that would be 21 days invested. And if you are earning around about 5,000 rands, and this very interesting survey says the food, the annual, the basket, monthly basket is at about 5,000 rands, and you are earning less than 5,000 rands, it means that you are literally cutting corners to survive, and you are making ends meet in a very difficult way. And Mervyn, I want to ask you, having just ruminated upon those few digits that you have come up with, where are families making compromises mainly? Because it appears as if South African households cannot truly even afford the basic basket that you've put together.
Yes, Thabo. So that is really the most important question that you have just raised, and also just to say that the people that you had interviewed, they really raised really important questions. So what we have seen is that there are certain costs which, of course, households cannot do without. So if there is a worker in the family, that transport money gets set aside first. So transport is prioritized. The second thing that is being prioritized is electricity, because electricity not only allows you to cook your food and store your food and keep the food fresh, but it also provides security for people in our country. That means a lot. So of course, electricity is prioritized. And then debt servicing, because a lot of people have to take out debt just to survive, because they know that mid-month they will run out of money, and then they have to go and get debt again. So debt servicing then becomes critical, and only then, Thabo, only then do they start thinking, okay, now what food can we buy with the money that's left over? And that is why when there is not enough money left over, that is then impacts on how much food they can purchase. And so even if food prices like fresh vegetables does come down, from the outset you already don't have enough, you know? So that's why it's an affordability, a cost of living issue. And so households are struggling to put food on the table because the other household essential services, they are just so expensive. So it's an interplay between all the different budget line items. You know, it is like, for instance, what your listener said about electricity. So, for instance, in Pietermaritzburg, 350 kilowatts of electricity has increased by something like 138 rand. Since the new increases. Now you've got a food basket that might have gone down by 60 rand, but now you still have to pay that 138 rand. So you are still about 70 rand poorer than you were 2 months ago, and that's having its impact on households and household food security and nutrition security.
Here's a bit of a question. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but please maybe give a little bit of a limelight on it some more, Mervyn. It says, "Hi Thabo, can you please ask your guest, do they know why the price of peanut butter has been shooting through the roof, as they've said, for the past 12 to 20 months? Is there a specific reason that we've picked up from the suppliers?"
Thabo, whoever finds the answer to that question, please let me know. We have tried to do as much research, and we cannot come up with any rational reason. Now, having said that, it is also true that in South Africa, in terms of the food value chain, it is very difficult to get any information. So we know, for instance, what the farm gate price is, because StatSA tell us what that is. Then we know what the price is in the supermarket, because we track those prices. But in between those two areas, there's the logistics, there's the manufacturing, there is all of those parts of the value chain that we just cannot get information from. Corporates would not give you that information. So we don't know whether the price increases on a product like peanut butter, but also other products, whether that is actually consistent with increased costs along the value chain, and whether that is fair or not. And therefore, we try not to give an answer to that question, because we just don't know, because there just isn't enough information for us to make a decision upon.
Or it could be supply and demand, the very basics of business. Perhaps more people are buying and business says, well, there is a demand, so we need to create more of the prices going higher because the demand is a little bit high. But we should try to find that out. And government has introduced, Mervyn, grants and subsidies, but are they keeping pace with this increment of prices as far as food is concerned? It's not much. I think we must start by saying that as a point of departure. It's not much. But is it trying to somehow alleviate that problem that exists, that disjuncture between what you are earning and the prices of food?
So, Thabo, any amount of money, of course, if you've got nothing, helps. So as you said, it's not much, but it does present a little bit of a help. But we also have to look at this from the broad picture of which is socio-economic development and economic development, So when we look, for instance, at a grant like the child support grant. Now, the child support grant is at 560. Our research shows that to feed a child a basic nutritious diet for a month will cost somewhere in the region of 943 Rand. So the child support grant is 41% below what it will cost a child. And it is also about 30% below the food poverty line of 796 Rand. Now, we know that the child support grant, a big portion of that goes towards food purchasing. The research after research after research has shown that. We know that it goes towards food and perhaps a bit of electricity. So when this grant is set so low that it's only subsistence level, you can just survive, then it actually makes it very difficult for households to be able to feed their children enough. Now, Thabo, that has major consequences for South Africa's development and economic productivity trajectory. Let me just explain. So if a child doesn't eat nutritious food, and already we know, then that child ends up being stunted, which is a cognitive, it's a brain disorder. And we know that already 25% of all our children are stunted. Now that has direct implications for educational outcomes, okay? So already 25% of our children are condemned from getting good educational grades, even before they start school. Then you go up into the ladder. Those children will be more susceptible to disease, so they will have to use the clinics more, etc. Research has shown that a stunted child, when they reach the age of working life, so around 22, 23, and they enter into the labor force, then they are most likely to enter the labor force as a laborer, lowest paid, which means that intergenerational cycle of poverty continue. He was too poor to eat properly. He now earns too little to feed his child properly, and that's the intergenerational poverty
Vicious
line.
cycle. We have to
And
leave it at
that's
that,
what is
Mervyn,
difficult.
unfortunately. But thank you so much for your insights. We must make time to delve on these critical issues again in the near future. Really appreciate your time. Mervyn Abrams, who is Program Coordinator at the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group. 11:30. We welcome Mbali Dlamini, who will give us the very latest on Eyewitness News headlines. Hi Mbali, good afternoon.
Thanks, Thabo. A very good afternoon. The National Consumer Commission has announced another recall of some popular vehicles due to safety concerns. The brands affected include some Ford Mustangs and Transit custom vehicles, the BMW X3 G45 series, some VW Polos, as well as Hino 500 series buses. This is the first recall this month, following 6 others from the previous months. The Usindiso Building Fire Inquiry says the prevalence of hijacked buildings is driven largely by poverty and a lack of affordable housing. This is contained in the final report by the Commission of Inquiry, which was looking into the deadly blaze. The Gauteng government is releasing the Commission's final report today. And about 500 foreign nationals living at 2 sites in Cape Town have been handed eviction notices. The occupants living at Wingfield and Paint City were relocated during the COVID-19 pandemic after being evicted from Green Market Square in the city's CBD. Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis says many of the occupants have moved from the sites, but the remaining occupants refuse to be relocated. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency. Mpumalanga, the place of the rising sun. The roads, Amo, how do they look?
Well, in Bramley, we still have got that accident, Thabo, on the M1 South near Corlett Drive. Delays coming out of Grayston Drive. In fact, Grayston Drive in itself is heavily backed up. This is just as you come out of the M1 exit, so please be on the lookout there. While traveling towards Pennyville, delays on the N1 South approaching the N17 turnoff, and this is due to an earlier accident. While heading towards Amalgam, do expect delays on the M2 West between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. Out in the city of Tshwane, we've got some delays on the R80 East Mabopane Highway just as you approach the Eskiampahlele exit. I am Amo Ramela. Otherwise, Karabo Jali will have your next traffic updates from the top of the hour onwards. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Explore the wonders of Mpumalanga. Discover the ultimate wildlife experience that brings you closer to nature. Get your adrenaline rush with endless adventure activities. Explore breathtaking 4x4 routes or hike the Blythe River Canyon, the 3rd largest in the world. Unwind with spectacular landscapes and majestic waterfalls. Make Mpumalanga your destination of choice. Mpumalanga, embrace the known, live the adventure. This message is brought to you by the Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency. Mpumalanga, the place of the rising sun. Visit mpumalanga.com for more information.
When I say insurance, you say pineapple. Insurance.
Pineapple.
Insurance.
Pineapple.
Insurance.
Pineapple.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
PG Glass Repair, PG Glass Replace.
I'm Komoto, PG Glass Technician. We use the leading windscreen brand, Shutterproof, PRUFE, to keep you safe.
Visit pg.co.za for trusted quality windscreens.
Spring is sprung, the grass is riz. It's now time to get stuck into your garden. So get to Chamberlain Gardening Centre's for our spring promotion from 4 August to 12 October. Get ceiling trays at R29.90 or Calterra compost at R24.90. And don't miss a chance to win your share of 90,000 Rand in gift vouchers every Saturday during the promotion. Chamberlain, famous for hardware and gardening since 1903.
Swing into spring with Hollywood Bet Spinner Zonke, where a sea of floral fun, epic adventures, and blooming beautiful games await. Reap red-hot riches and whimsical wins with our sparkling spring-themed slots. The season's luck is in full bloom, so dive in and grab your chance to unravel an endless supply of thrilling treasures and claim sensational rewards when you bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
702 and corporates that care with Ekwele are talking about Ekwele's commitment to uplifting communities across South Africa.
From Ekwele's side, we get a lot of requests for water. I think the access to clean drinking and safe water has become a daily challenge for many people. So we get a lot of requests. We really deliver hundreds and thousands of bottles every year. Recently, we saw a need for a more longer-term solution, more sustainable water solutions. When we turned 25, we delivered 25 water tanks to 25 communities all over South Africa. And it was really heartwarming to see what a difference a tank can make. The first tank we put up was at a school in Groudeville, and KwaZulu-Natal, and the principal told us now they don't need to close their school anymore because sometimes they had to close school early because they didn't have water.
Ekwele, making a positive impact one drop at a time. Learn more at ekwele.co.za. 702, let's walk the talk.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
24 minutes to 12 o'clock. Thabo in for Clement on 702. Thanks for hanging around with us. There's quite a lot to go through. If you've just joined us, where have you been? By the way, we are also live on YouTube, also on TikTok, so various platforms to communicate with us. Feel free to jump in at any given time and share your thoughts. If you'd like to send a voice note, feel free to do so on 072 702 1702. The previous half hour, we were speaking about the price of food. How much do you really spend on food? And it looks like you are just literally giving millions and millions just to stay alive. A 5-kilogram bag of samp rose from 64 rands to over 73 rands. Cooking oil, it went up from 147 to 157. Tea from 30 rands to 31. And 25 loaves of white bread from 410 to 411. 381 for brown bread to 388. It looks like it's going all the way up. Feel free to participate in other things of the show. You'd know that if Clement was here, this would be the sharing space, and we'd be talking about a communication that came from you to him, asking for a little bit of advice. I'm going to urge you to listen to what we'll be saying shortly, because we need you to help this listener out. They've sent some really, really riveting stuff on the sharing space.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
On the sharing space, we get to hear from you. It could be that you have a problem in your relationship, at work, at play, or anywhere else, and you need 702 lenders to guide you, to give you some insights, counsel, and inspiration or advice of any sorts. So you get to write to Clement, and we read it out. After reading this out, that's when we get to hear from our listeners. We draw from the pearls of wisdom of our listenership to ask for assistance. This comes from Anonymous, as usual. And let me read it out to you, what Anonymous is saying. Hello, Clement. I would change that to Thabo just for today. But nonetheless, she goes on to say, I'm married to a loving man who had a daughter with someone else before we met. His daughter is 8 years old and love her like my own. I also have my daughter with my husband. She's 4 years old. My husband's daughter visits us maybe 2-3 times a month, and over the past few months her mom has become more and more controlling about what we can do with her when she visits. Last week, she sent her daughter to us with a letter of do's and don'ts. In the letter, she said we couldn't braid her hair and anymore, and that she said we can't force her to go to church, and we cannot take her phone away from her because she must always be able to reach her. I was very annoyed by this because it seems to be getting worse. But my husband seems to just want to keep peace. I'm not sure why his ex-wife feels the need to micromanage us when we are also parents. I need my husband to do more to fight for us. But he says he's scared she will prevent his daughter from seeing him. I want to confront her, but I don't want there to be tension between my husband and his ex. Please ask your listeners, what should I do? Hot news. What must she do? It's a very interesting problem, but I think it's more prevalent given the rate of divorce amongst South Africans, especially of recent, that more and more families go separate ways and the kids get to now be exposed to new partners. And the new partners may have their own set of values, and the baby mamas or baby daddies would want to retain a semblance of authority over those children because this child spends lots of time with mommy and gets to see daddy with the new mom only on weekends, I'd like to presume, once or twice in a month, 3 times in a month. So when she's exposed to a new family, the real mom says, no, don't touch my child's hair, my daughter's hair. I like it the way it is. Don't take her to church and expose her to your dogmatic outlooks in life. I don't want her subscribing to the Catholic faith or the Shembe faith or the ZCC faith that you guys subscribe to. I like her the way she is as happy, clappy and born again. Don't take her to those reformist churches. Leave her at home. And by the way, her phone must always be with her because when I want to speak to my daughter, she must always be available. But the new mom, or should I say the stepmom, is not taking any of that. She's saying, if your daughter is with us, she will do what is being done by the Romans in Rome. Herein is my list of things. She must adhere to them if she must enter these gates, because I determine what is going on. Who's right? Who's wrong? Apparently, the dad is not very open to speaking up about the stuff. He doesn't want to ruffle the feathers. He's thinking that if I put my foot down, the baby mama drama will ensue and she'll tell me that I can't see my daughter anymore if I've got a big mouth. And there goes me seeing my daughter and spending time with her. What must they do? This is on the sharing space. I'd love to hear from you. Please proffer your thoughts, your ideas, your suggestions, your advice on 072-702-1702 via a voice note, alternatively text messages, or you can just call us directly and share with us what must Anonymous do on 072-702-1702 011-883-0702. 17 minutes to 12 o'clock.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Dear Anonymous, the advice I wish to give is from a social work perspective. Primarily that the mother of the 8-year-old needs to recognize your boundaries, and you and your husband need to set some boundaries for her. House rules at your house apply, while house rules at her house apply. And she needs to respect your house rules, and you will have to respect hers as well. And that is how the child will also learn that when I'm at daddy's, these rules apply. When I'm at mummy's, these rules apply. The second thing is that
Oh no, oh no. Please let us know what the second thing is. I'd love to know. Please complete that voice note and send it through again if you don't mind. Ne? Only on the second thing. Pick up from the second thing is on 072 702 1702. I hear you. You're saying your house, your rules, but she's raising, this baby mama is raising very interesting issues like the hair. Hair is a very sensitive issue. I think we all know that. But secondly, the religion. It could be that you subscribe to a different religion in that household and they are Anglican and you are, I don't know, Methodist. And the mama is saying, I don't want that Methodist stuff to go into my child's head. And you guys are staunch Methodists in that house, and you'll be coming here and giving us tunes from Amadodana Sewesel. I don't want my daughter singing those hymns, so I don't want her to go to that church. I'm just making an example. I've got nothing against Amadodana Sewesel. As a matter of fact, I love their albums, great stuff. But I digress. The real important stuff is you don't want a certain exposure for your child when they go and visit and they're exposed to various other dogmatic stuff that you perceive to be inconsistent with your worldview. And they get there and they come back and they bring it to your house and they're like, that stepmom is now putting ideas into my child's head. Well, or is she right? Her house, her rules. Let me know. 011-883-0702. Alternatively, 072-702-1702.
Hi, Thabo. Yeah, for me, there's clearly a communication problem here. And what Anonymous needs to do is to have a friendly conversation with the husband and both of them arrange a meeting with the baby mama and ventilate all the challenges. So clearly all of these things are coming from somewhere. So there are probably some incidents in the background that have taken place that have led to these kind of things being said now. So, when it comes to the hair, stepmom and mom, let's communicate and say, okay, no, I think she needs to get her hair done. Where would you like me to do it? That way, if the child misbehaves, agree on a set of rules and a set of sanctions. In other words, for lack of better words, Shivas in Boksburg.
Yeah, Shivas, I get that. And I think that's very clear. As far as discipline is concerned, that's very clear. But what about religion? She's very specific. And the hair. Why would the stepmom want to change her hairstyle of an 8-year-old? Leave her the way she is. She came with pigtails and leave the pigtails. Just comb them, maintain them, and her mom will then decide. Why would you want to change the child's hairstyle? I think I'm with the baby mama on this one. I think I am with the baby mama. It's her child, and she doesn't want a lot of changes that she must then deal with over the weekend. And you've had the child for just a few days, and now she must redo everything else because in your household you do things in a certain way. I'm saying that and hiding under the table before I'm thrown by things on social media. But what say you? It could be that you're in that situation. What happens when your stepdaughter visits? Your house, your rules, or do you stick to the baby mama's list of stipulations? Let us know. 011-883-0702.
Hi, good day, guys, everybody. So on this baby mama issue, look, the first counselor or social worker is right. Now, the woman is still trying to run the house of another woman, and the other woman is saying, no, you won't. And this is an issue between the two of them. One is that they must stay out of each other's space respectfully. And then, the mother to the child, when the child is at the father's place, leave the trust to the father to take care of his own child. And stop trying to interfere and take care of your child while they're there, unless you are saying the child is not taken care of, because he does the same. When he's not giving you rules when the child is at your house, it is still his child as much as it's your child, right? And women tend to, and excuse me by saying this, but the gender tends to come in each other's crosshairs based on territory and other things. It just doesn't work.
Good morning, Thabo. Here's my advice to Anonymous. Anonymous, you know what? That baby mama is trying to frustrate you. She's trying to provoke you because she knows what she's doing is wrong. But if I were you, I'll just leave that child like that. Don't touch her hair. Leave it with Jen Raff or whatever it is. When you go to church, take your own 4-year-old, leave the other one behind. Because isn't that what your mom wants?
Yes.
Stop entertaining them. Let the dead read those rules, those letters that the mother writes, and let the father do those things and stay away from it. Otherwise, she's trying to provoke you. Thanks, Tembi.
Yeah, thanks for that. And fathers are weak. I was going to say fathers are cowards. He was going to always try to keep peace with the new lady, at times at the expense of the child. So the baby mama is saying, not with my child. Not with my child. Babalo, you're calling us from Joburg. Hi.
Hi, Thabo. How are you?
I'm free. I'm chilled. How are you, Babalo?
I'm good. Thabo, with the whole situation, I think the lady she's just not off herself. Children need both parents. So once the child goes to the other parent, you should be free because they are at their safe haven. And even if when they come to that side, that means the father has to say that side of the mother. You don't have to break my cheeks. And when she goes. You understand what I'm saying? The vice versa thing.
Yeah, it would be a tug of war.
They're fighting. They're fighting each other.
Yeah,
it's all about love. You love your kid regardless of what. When she comes back, if there's a mistreatment, she will tell. She's old enough to understand.
Yeah.
I see this thing not. It doesn't have to be escalated to what it is right now. They're supposed to speak. They're adults. They're not even the child. Now they're fighting like child through a child.
Definitely, Babalo. But may I ask a question very quickly before I go to Simon? Between the stepmom and the real mom, who do you think would have the child's best interest at heart? Let us know. Simon in Pretoria, hi.
Yes, John. You know what? I think from my own point of view, Anonymous must just be strong and make peace, that child is coming for 2 times a month, 2 weekends. So it's better she doesn't touch the hair. She doesn't take her to church because the person who is bound to lose is Anonymous. This woman wants to provoke her and make them fight, him and her and the husband. You understand? The person who is going to bound to lose love here, because if it's my child, I'm going to, look after my child. But now if my wife wants to get involved in that, we are going to fight. So it's better Anonymous just keep quiet, be strong. She comes for 2 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, she's gone. The problem is finished.
Simon, thanks very much for that. I really appreciate it. 011-883-0702. I'd love to hear from you. And here's some text messages that came on 072-702-1702. Good morning, Thabo. Children are carrying heavy burdens because of the parents. Anonymous, leave the child because that's how she wants the child to look like. Just leave it at that. Another text message says, but the father also has a say on what should apply to his daughter. Well, he sees the child only twice a month. The mom is there all the time. Maybe the stepmom should just take a chill pill because the mom would have the best interest of the child at heart better than the stepmom. I don't know. You tell me. It could be that I'm wrong and you want to put me in my place like you always do. Feel free to do so on 072-702-1702. Regarding Anonymous, it's not rocket science to keep peace. She must just abide by what the biological mom wants, period. A message from Erwit Machinya Tsimbi in DK, Deep Kloof. Bandile, you're in Centurion. Hey.
Yeah, hi, Thabo. How are you?
Hey, how's it, Bandile? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So my comment here is, I was married and I had a child and also the mother. But
the shared parenting is to respect each other within it, right? So the father, for things like hair, like I get the hair because it's a long period and I see them only for a short period. That's an easy communication. I'm taking the child for hair, whatever, because there's this. Then the mother might then say, no, it's fine. I've already planned.
Yeah, Bandile, the line is terrible, terrible. But I think I got the gist of what you're saying, that husband must step in and manage these two ladies. Yeah, I'm sorry, Bandile. Please, maybe we'll try again if there's time. I'm not sure, but your line was very terrible. Apologies for that. And yeah. What do you do? What do you do? I think the husband is caught between a rock and a hard place, because the new mama, the new lady in his life, will then say, "Oh, you're taking your ex girlfriend's side. You don't respect me. I'll walk away." And on one end, baby mama will say, "You're afraid of that new girlfriend of yours." The guy is in a difficult place, but also I'm sure he wants very little to do with plaiting of the child's hair. He couldn't be bothered. But why is the new mom, why is the stepmom so fixated with the hair and taking the child to church? Those happen only once in a while. You don't really have to touch that. I mean, the mom is not saying, "Don't discipline my child." She's not saying, "You must tell me what the child eats." She's very specific on one or two issues. Why don't you just say, "Oh, okay, thank you very much," and leave it at that? Well, I'd love to hear from you. It could be that you are in that situation. Let us know on 072 702 1702. 4 minutes to 12 o'clock.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The story of the 121 dockets that have now been returned to the Political Killings Task Force in KwaZulu-Natal. Why would Umongameli, Matamed, and Feroz Kachalia be wanting to block that? That's an operational matter. Why are the politicians getting involved? Is this not what General Mkwanazi was talking about? The politicians like to get involved in operational police matters. What's going on here? Mr. President, No. Something is hitting the water here.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
At the heart of global conversations shaping the future, Africa's voice matters more than ever. As Africa's largest bank by assets and lead sponsor of the M20 Summit, Standard Bank Group is proud to spotlight the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Through informed dialogue and powerful partnerships, the Standard Bank is driving sustainable growth where it matters most. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org by 30 September.
It's that time of the year. Sneezing, itchy, watery eyes, blocked noses and coughs. It's time to live, work, play and sleep allergy-free. For trusted relief for you and your family this allergy season, ask your pharmacist for the Adcock Ingram OTC Allergy Survival Pack. With products like Allergex Non-Drowsy, Cetisid, Levogex, and more, we have you covered. Remember, Adcock Ingram OTC. And visit beprepared365.co.za.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Mandy Wiener between 12 and 1 o'clock. She'll present to you the Midday Report, a show not to be missed. What's up, Mandy?
Lots to discuss. I'm busy watching at the moment. The Deputy National Police Commissioner is challenging his suspension, Shadrack Sabir, in the court. At the same time, we now have this agreement between the National Police Commissioner and the Police Minister about these controversial KZN dockets that are going to the Madlanga Commission. Panyaza Lesufi is relaunching Nasispan in Gauteng. Did you smile at my pronunciation?
No. I'm saying relaunch.
Oh,
I'm
yes, relaunch.
literally, relaunch because we know what happened previously, right?
Yes, and also a political task team in the police, which is very interesting. And then a few other things. We're going to have a look at analysis of the IEC's annual political party funding report. Rebecca Davis has done a very interesting article on that in Daily Maverick. And then there's been a recall of some Ford Mustangs, Ford Transit Customs, a Volkswagen Polo, BMW X3, G45. We'll find out about that.
All that and more between 12 and 1 on Midday Report with Mandy Winner. It's exactly 12 o'clock. Thanks for spending time with us. Let's do it again very soon.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The National Consumer Commission has announced another recall of some popular vehicles due to safety concerns. The brands affected include some Ford Mustangs and Transit custom vehicles, the BMW X3 G45